that's big coming from
Perfect.
Kesh.
Fantastic. Lovely. Beautiful.
Fantastic. Fantastic. He sounds fantastic.
Mr.
I
Fantastic.
I had help from somebody who knows what they're doing.
Oh, do I happen to know this
Oh.
person who knows what they're doing?
Yeah, they're Canadian.
Ah, I think they may or may not have been on the show twice while I was
And
yelling
they
at
may-
Nazis.
They're on the
You do know all the
dangly bit of
Canadians.
Canada on the far east section, right? You know that dangly bit off of the end.
The dangly bit falling off. yeah.
Dangly bit.
Holding
It
on for
hasn't
dear
fallen
life.
off. It's connected, and
It
if you
hasn't
go on
fallen
the
off
one road of Canada,
yet.
starting from Vancouver, that's where you end up near his house.
Ah, okay.
And
Landon,
3, 2,
also-
1. Here we go.
Oh,
Uh-oh. Shit. Fuck. No!
no.
Hi.
My tea
I-
is not ready! Fuck.
Well,
my
too
bad.
bad.
Of course
That's
it's
a
not
shame.
ready.
I'm gonna get punished now. I know. Chess said to me in the morning that he has got an idea for every time I'm late, and I'm worried now.
Alright, well, I'm gonna
Hey!
actually play the intro because it didn't work properly.
Hey.
Oh, nah.
Oh,
Oh, nice. I like that wavy thing going on. Did you get that inspiration
I
from
like
me?
that you talked over the intro, but yeah, Dapper made it.
Hey!
We're
I
professionals.
made
so
it
Dapper, you were about to
Remember
ask
that.
something.
Welcome
Oh,
everybody
I was just
to
gonna say,
Debate Pub.
Yeah,
What's up,
welcome.
Dapper?
hello. I was going to say to Landon, if you have questions, you can always type them to me, and even if I'm not currently around, I'll get them and answer them.
I love this. This is how we
Fantastic.
should start every time.
Yeah.
I hope
That's how we
not.
should start.
Please don't. My anxiety
everybody.
can't handle it. Hi. Hello. Welcome to
We're
Debate Pub.
organized, really.
I am Chesh, your master debater, and we have a lot to talk about today. I am drinking definitely not a White Russian because it's only got the definitely not Kahlua, because Kahlua is American liquor, and I am in Canada, so I don't have access to that right now. But it does have the coffee liqueur in it, and milk and ice, but not the additional vodka. Maanyaa, how you doing? What's going on?
Me? High on caffeine. Making some more.
Oh, good. Here we go. Landon, how are you?
I am doing well. Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, depending on your time zone, latitude, and tariff status. I am drinking a.
Anya's out of it,
Sorry.
man. She's gone.
Yep,
I'm drinking
gone.
Italian wine, a Montalcino. So I am sympathetic with my friendly neighbors to the north, who are boycotting American products. Not that I'm boycotting American products. I just happen to be not using American alcohol. So this is Italian. I previously had Glass House
Italian.
wine. I do recommend Glass House. They're a very nice BC winery. And
Nice.
and even I would even recommend that Canada cut down their interprovincial trade barriers so that people could enjoy it outside
Yeah,
of BC.
there's actually one
In
of
my opinion.
those aren't right now part of my list, but I can say that Manitoba and Ontario already have a list, and today or yesterday, Quebec announced some of its dropping some of its restrictions between provinces. Dapper, how are you? What's going on?
I'm doing all right. I am drinking, in fact, a cerveza from Cerveceria Modelo Mexico. So I'm also not drinking
Oh.
American liquor. So take that, America,
Yeah.
you dick.
Now, just for the record, I do. I am a patron of the Costa Brown winery, and I also am a patron of GLM, which is Glacial Lake Missoula winery up in Blaine. Those are American wines. But
Also, I apologize for the poor quality of my camera. Some of my resources are being taken up by rendering out a commissioned piece of art because I like money.
It actually looks pretty
I
okay
like
to me.
money.
and if I may ask, I know that you had a Patreon or some fundraising event. Maybe it was there for your new computer. Have you been able to assemble that computer yet?
I am using it right now.
Oh,
Oh,
Yeah.
nice.
wow!
Yep,
Nice.
I've got 92 gigs of memory. I've got 2 terabytes worth of internal hard drive storage, along with like the 7 external that I have. So that's not actually that important.
Oh, nice.
But I've also got a RTX 5080. I've got a 32 thread Pentium i9 processor going. So it's a very powerful computer, and it has definitely improved the production capabilities here at Casa Dino. especially since the old computer was kind of falling apart and turning into a pile of e-waste.
Yeah,
Which it now
not that
actually
you were.
is.
It was falling apart by your misuse. It was you heavily use your
Heavy
computers.
use. Oh yeah,
And
this
for
thing.
those people that enjoy your wonderful show about people who wear bags of dicks or simulate bags of dicks or other jerks, plus your wonderful Star Trek shows, they get to see the resulting artwork from that computer. So thank you for
Yes.
those that contributed.
Although, I also want to say thanks to Chesh there, because she is the producer. So while pretty much... and we split the art duties. So Chesh is in charge of all the character portraits. And I'm largely in charge of
Nice.
everything else.
That's cool.
That's because she's way better at character art than I am. So we're playing to our strengths.
Well, Chess is a character, an artist.
It's true.
So that makes her a character art specialist.
Oh, that's good. Oh no, that's not good.
All right, so shall we
You're
dive
muted,
into
Chip.
this? Huh? What?
I
Hello?
was going to say you were muted because you
Oh.
were muted earlier, but
I
now you're
pressed
not.
it.
Has
the
anything been
button.
happening in the world?
Oh. My God, the number of things that have happened. I've tried my best
One of these days,
I've tried my best to divide them by topic, so please bear with me while I sort of go through these. And I am going to try and divvy up what we end up talking about tonight into videos later, so if you do find one particular topic interesting or you're a little bit more interested in, they will be available that are be a little bit easier to find, and I will try to make chapters in this, but we'll see. First on the chopping block is I've kind of divvied them up. You can see in the description of this video live stream, if you go and look in there, all the links are already there. You have no idea how difficult it was to squeeze all of them in. So some of the titles don't quite match. Like, I think one of them just says bees. But you'll figure it out, don't worry.
Bees?
Buzz.
How many topics do you have? What the
Bees. All right, so first off, we're
fuck?
going to
How many
start
topics?
a lot.
How many topics?
I'm sorry,
What
did you
the
not
fuck,
look at the
bro?
list of all the things that I put and sent to you guys?
I'm going to be
No.
honest, I never look.
So sad.
Have you been able to tell the difference between me being well prepared and not being prepared at all?
No, you're good. All right.
Well, there you go.
Okay, let's go.
All right, so our first set of things is going to be conflicts. And we have 3 conflicts to cover. The first conflict we're going to talk about is Russia-Ukraine. I know that will kind of link into something that Landon wanted to talk about, which is Russia's economy. Then we're going to talk about Gaza and Israel, because there's been a couple of things that have happened around that. And then we're going to talk about Pakistan and India, because there's been some things going on with that. But I'm going to let Maanyaa take the lead on
I
that
should
one.
be drinking Everclear.
Conflicts. First up is... I gotta flip over to the right thing. Hey, yo, let's go.
Hey! Oh, look, it's so fancy. Nice.
So this is Ukraine and Russia. So specifically, Germany has made some major moves where they have allowed Ukraine to fire long range into Russia. Prior, there had been restrictions. So people have been giving, or countries, I should say, have been giving Ukraine weaponry, but saying, hey, listen, you're not allowed to use its long-range capabilities. And Germany has now said, no, you go ahead for at least their stuff. However, they have said that there are 4 other countries that are lifting the restrictions. But, yeah.
I mean, to some
Like-
extent, Russia's long-range pounding of Ukraine is a response back. The second thing, of course, is that countries that are on the front line of Russia's attacks on Europe are getting tired of hidden attacks and Russian government meddling and other sabotage.
Yeah, it specifies said that Germany, France, the United Kingdom, and the United States have lifted all restrictions on Ukraine regarding the range of its strikes. Let me
Josh,
zoom
can you
this
just
in for
magnify it a
bit.
little? Yeah, I was about to say.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Ta-da!
Thank you.
So it specifies those 1, 2, 3, 4. The details are on Monday, 26th of May, German counselor said, that there are no longer, quote, any restrictions on long-range strikes using weapons supplied to Ukraine by UK, France, Germany, and the United States. Quote, this means that Ukraine can now defend itself, including strikes on military targets in Russia. Until recently, it could not do this, and until recently, with very few exceptions, it did not do so. Now it can. It can hit military targets in the rear, and this is a decisive qualitative change in Ukrainian warfare, end quote, the German chancellor stressed. Mers pointed out... What?
What kind of change was it?
Qualitative?
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and I said, and it points out, as you're finishing your quote,
I'm just being a jerk.
Josh,
I know, it's okay. I don't mind.
Merz pointed out that Russia ruthlessly attacks civilian targets, bombing cities, kindergartens, hospitals, and elder care. Not only does it attack those targets, it attacks those targets deliberately. It is an attempting to try and demoralize and destabilize the Ukrainian thing, and then it comes around and has people who behave like they're whacked out on some substance whine whenever Ukraine responds back.
Yes.
Yeah.
Apparently, they're rewriting Ukraine's long-range missile production as well. Basically, Germany is planning on sending a whole lot more support to Ukraine.
One thing also that Ukraine has been targeting is also the petroleum industry in Russia's oil refineries. Oil is the number one way that Russia is funding their invasion of Europe, and sales to India and sales to China and sales to Turkey are amounts for the income that Russia is able to cobble together. And Ukraine's ability to destroy Russian petrochemical infrastructure will help protect Europe.
There's also, so German Chancellor said his country would pay for Ukraine to build long-range missiles at home, days after the leader announced the lift on the long-range restrictions. So it's kind of like a double whammy a little bit, if anything. I think that's interesting, in my opinion, especially with, like, there's some additional things going on, too. We've got... sorry, go ahead.
With Trump finally now, I think so. Now going the opposite direction. He was very supportive of Russia, but I think so someone may have advised him that it's time to just back off supporting Russia. So now he's like, I think so he said a couple of weeks ago, or I think so last week, that Putin is taking him for a ride and has taken him for a ride and he's not happy about it, blah blah. By the looks of it, Russia has had its fill of Trump, and now Trump is of no use to them anymore because of all his trade war that he has been, imposing on the world. So they know that Trump is of no use anymore to them. So now they are not, indulging him. So, and Trump is not happy about it because Trump loves being indulged a lot, and that's all you have to do to get anything from him. So,
and
I guess
I think that's a good point you've raised there, Maanyaa. And to add to what you were saying, Agent Orange, as I refer to Trump, has been a useful idiot to Vladimir Putin. But now, as Trump has been burning his bridges with our allies, his ability to influence allies is diminishing, and
or get information.
And so to some extent, it's. I think they're finding that Trump card in Agent Orange to be less useful at this stage.
People are less willing, the world I should say, are less willing to go along with what Russia is doing because they're concerned about America and going through America to do so. So for example here, NATO officials reject Russia's demand to halt expansion. So NATO is not holding any active discussions on Russia's demand that the alliance halt its eastward expansion. Speaking on condition of anonymity, the NATO official said that the issue of NATO's potential non-enlargement has been raised at any recent or even earlier alliance meetings. One official called it, quote, perhaps just an academic discussion, noting that any such decision would require full consensus among the NATO members. Clarification comes after Reuters reported on Monday, the 28th, that Russian President Vladimir Putin's conditions for ending the war in Ukraine include receiving a written commitment from Western leaders to cease NATO's expansion. And everybody laughed and said, LOL, no.
Yeah.
Because the thing is, okay, what is NATO? Basically, all NATO is a big group of countries that say, hey, for the purposes of Russian military aggression against any of us, we basically count as one country. If Russia invades a NATO country or otherwise attacks a NATO country, it has now attacked every NATO country. That's it. And so how does NATO expand? Well, NATO doesn't go out and invade other countries and say, you're part of NATO now. It doesn't threaten other countries. All that happens is a country says, well, gee, Russia seems dangerous. I guess I'll join this mutual defense pact, because that's ultimately what it is. So the fact that it's expanding is not necessarily a policy on the part of the NATO countries, because quite frankly, all they can do is say, like, excuse me, country, would you like to join? And if the country says no, well, that's it. And they don't even really do that. Instead, countries petition to join NATO. Why?
Yeah.
Well, because Russia keeps invading places.
Keeps being a threat.
Yeah,
Basically,
so it's a
this is just
reflection.
Putin punching people and then saying, hey, could everyone stop minding that I keep punching everybody? It would really be a lot easier for me if you
It's a
just stopped
deflection.
caring.
It's a deflection,
Which-
right? It's flipping the whole thing. It's like saying, that it's like what abusers do, right? They hit you and then you react, and then they are like, oh, you are reacting. That's why I hit you, right? That's what this what Putin has been doing all this time, and it's been part of his strategy. I don't know if it's Russia, but it's his strategy to, annex any former USSR territory that he can, and then act like an innocent, like, we were, as if, like, he did nothing wrong. So yeah, and people are sick of it now. People are like, fuck you. And I get it, to attack, like Landon said, to attack their oil reserves and refineries and stuff. That's the way to go, because I think so. I get it. I'm from India. I get it. And India buys oil and even methane and all that stuff from Russia, and that's what's funding the war. I get it. And if that's hitting those, what it takes for Russia to listen, and for even India to be like, okay, maybe, because that's what India said, right? They said that everybody thinks that Europe's problems is rest of the world's problems, and and vice versa, but not vice versa. Sorry, I'm all over the place. So they are going to make it everybody else's problem. That's the part, isn't it? So then India will have to come to the table. It's fine by me, If they are going to use politics, they are going to use politics,
So I think this brings up a big question that I have.
Yeah.
So, sometime in like the second half of the 20th century, virtually all Western countries decided that political assassinations were not something to engage in. And to a large extent, they stopped.
Yes.
Here's my question. I wanted explained to me why it is considered unethical to, say, shoot Putin in the face, but it's not unethical to, say, bomb entire countries, sell weapons that will, while targeting military vehicles and whatnot, still end up harming civilians, and then spend many, many lives of people who are not well politically connected, are not particularly wealthy. All because we decided it's unethical to shoot Putin in the face. Because,
Dapper,
let's face it, if I had Putin in the house, I would shoot him in the face.
I understand. I think I understand the spirit of your question and frustration behind it. One of the things to consider is not. I would say it's not that it is unethical. It's not a matter of ethics, because countries don't have ethics. Countries have opportunities. Even a country as nice as Canada does not have ethics. It has opportunities that come and go. And one of the problems when you assassinate a leader is be careful what you get. the power vacuum of taking out Vladimir Putin is not going to change Russia's as a nation's belligerency and design goals and the power behind it. The autocracy that is built around Putin would simply replace him with something else.
Oh, I agree with that.
On the other hand, Dapper, I would say I have a dream, a goal of seeing the taxi cab driver of Moscow. That's what Vladimir Putin was. He doesn't like you to say that because he gets really upset. But the failed KGB chief who terrorized Eastern Germany, who were reduced to a taxi cab driver, has become an authoritarian dictator. I have a dream that he will be brought to The Hague and brought on trial.
Okay, but
and that Russia will deliver him to The Hague.
Well, that sounds nice, but I'm not. But here's my counter to that.
It's a dream.
If it becomes the fact that when, say, a national level leader decides to start killing large numbers of civilians, they're simply assassinated as a matter of course, I think that would disincentivize national leaders from engaging in such wars in the first place. Like, if you thought that putting your country at war and targeting civilians was like a 30% chance you would just die, I don't think very many people would have that kind of war.
I might have an answer for you that I think nobody's gonna like, and it's because some people's lives are worth more than others on the world stage, according to the consensus of the world. So some people are just considered more valuable than others. I don't know if that's a good thing, a bad thing. It's more of a thing that just sort of is. And it's not that, like, it has to be if you're going to engage in political assassination, whether it be like the leader of the country or the people behind the leader of the puppet regime, you need to weigh the pragmatism of if it's worth it to do so and what you gain to do so. Like, it's not really any skin off of Europe's back if Russia decides to, be Russia as long as they're not invading. Right? It doesn't benefit, it doesn't really benefit most countries to, take out the CCP leader, right? It's not really beneficial, even if it might be, that's up to the people. They get to decide what they want to do, right? Which we'll get to, but we should probably move on.
I think you're right, Jesh, and to eliminate the current a godlike dictator of North Korea is not going to change the quote there. To eliminate Emperor Winnie the Pooh is not going to change the Communist Party. To eliminate
I want to point out
is not going to change, and so to some extent, when you change the leader like that radically, you end up with instability, which may or may not be beneficial.
Sure.
That's how
I want to point out that my proposal was not to eliminate every human rights abusing dictator. It was specifically to assassinate those dictators who launch wars in which civilians are targeted.
Yeah.
Which means Winnie the Pooh is fine. Kim Jong-un is fine. Most of the world's dictators are fine because they're not currently launching wars against sovereign countries targeting civilians.
Yeah, they're just killing their own civilians.
So I will just add one last thing to this, right?
Yeah, thanks, Maanya's chair.
Yeah, okay. So I get it where Dapper is coming from. I get it where Landon is also coming from. My point is, who decides who started a war? Right?
I mean, in some cases, it's very, very obvious.
Let's for example, let's even take the Israel and Palestine situation, right?
Mm-hmm.
Who's gonna write that history and who's gonna write that future? In India-Pakistan war, who's gonna write that history and who's
that's
gonna
much
write
more
future?
Important question.
Yep. Because the thing is that it's they started a war. Who started the war? Because according to Russia, it's Ukraine who started a war by going to NATO.
And for the record, if the taxi cab driver of Moscow was no longer able to bother the rest of the world, I'd throw a party.
Yeah, that's fine. And hang in there. Just let me finish my thought.
Okay, fine.
Hold on, let me finish my thought. Can I finish my thought? Sir?
Mm-hmm.
Hi, can I finish my thought? Thank you very much. There was a new rule coming in later. Okay, I get it. So my thing is that it's very easy to say that, yeah, why can't we say this? It's about where, once it starts, we don't know where it's gonna stop.
I think there's a fundamental misunderstanding of Dapper's point, but go on.
No, I'm understanding, and I'm not saying that Dapper shouldn't be allowed to say that. It's fine.
Nobody's
Say
saying,
Thanks.
yeah, nobody's saying that.
it. Go for it. But it's like once it starts, where it's yeah, I get it. Dapper is just saying that why is it wrong to say that somebody should kill Putin? That's fine.
Okay, but we're already at that point with wars, and wars kill way more people than assassinations, and I don't give a fuck about the lives of Putin greater than I give a fuck about the lives
Fair
of
enough,
every
Dapper.
individual Ukrainian.
I think that's a fair point.
And here's my new rule. Once a year, every politician should have of the people they represent and who could vote for them, right? So just people who could vote for this person or not. One of those people is randomly selected. The politician is tied to a chair in a locked room, and the person is given a gun with one bullet and allowed to enter the room, and nothing that happens in that room can be prosecuted by anyone, and they're left there for a half an hour or until they come out.
The purge, but for politicians only.
Yeah.
But here's the thing, though. If you're doing a good job, then chances are that the randomly selected constituent won't shoot you.
But see, I'd much rather assassinate the Russian economy, because with
These
the
are not
taxi
mutually
cab driver of
exclusive.
Moscow gone,
Sure.
and the economy still there, the belligerency of the oligarchy that's running Russia would still be a threat to the world.
I just maintain if politicians had a fair chance of dying as a result of starting wars, we would have fewer wars. And therefore, I think that it is hard to argue that assassinations of belligerent politicians is not a good thing overall compared to what we do now, where we don't do
I
that.
have a counter idea.
Politicians do have a fair chance of being targeted.
Not nearly high enough.
Targeted.
The
I
world
was
could
I
use
was
way
targeted.
more
I
politicians.
was targeted twice when I was in office.
I have a different suggestion.
Okay.
Being a
I have
politician
a
is
different I have a different suggestion.
Oh, wow.
I think we should do this thing that if you're going to go to war, you have to go. So Putin has to go. If he's gonna if he's going to start a war, he needs to be there in and around the front line. He doesn't have to be like in the pit, but he needs to be within firing range. Zelensky's in firing range. Zelensky has been on the front lines of his war defending his people, so why can't Putin do it? And if Trump is going to start trade wars, why can't he be on the front lines? No, he's busy sacking his money into fucking bullshit cryptocurrency.
And I would appeal to the historian Dapper, the Dapper's of understanding history. Wasn't the case that like kings were the ones out on the battlefield heavily armored?
If you're a politician and you voted for war, your kids have to go regardless of any status whatsoever.
No, I don't like the kids, because here's the thing: you don't get
I don't like the kids.
Yeah, but Dapper, wasn't that the case that the king was usually the big tough guy, or
so
pretending
it
to be?
varied for time and place, but it was very common for kings or emperors to be leading charges on battlefields. Although, to be fair, it was actually more often that they were at the battle, overseeing as a general on some hill somewhere, sending out messengers.
I'm okay with like the being on the hill nowadays, because a hill is definitely like missile range.
Well, even at the time, I mean, longbows have a surprisingly long range.
Yeah, exactly.
And also, it was not exactly an unusual cause of death to die in battle anyway, even if you were trying to do the general thing from on top of a hill.
Yeah.
Because if your position gets flanked, well, guess what the front line just became? It became your position on the hill.
Yeah. So. Listen, if you're going to start a war, you have to be there. New rule. That's the rule.
That's the rule.
That's the rule.
Around because I'm
so now that we what's next on the agenda?
Next on the list, Russia wants to install missiles to aim them at Europe.
Oh.
Speaking of which,
Sabha.
Is that new though? That's not news.
That's not new. Now,
hey, this article's from May 29th, all right?
I'm just saying, like, that's always the case.
Well,
it's yes. Like, I'm sure it was true on May 29th, but it's like saying, oh, hey, May 31st, 2025. Water continues to wet things.
Okay, but it's more like the plan is at an advanced stage and they're actually moving forward with it, not just his desire to do so.
Fair enough.
You know what I mean? So, Russia wants to install missile systems in the base, in the capital of the...
But that's the question is where they're doing it, right?
Yeah. Base. Libyan.
Yeah.
And it's Libyan, right? It's to be just for full disclosure, I've actually been in Sabah.
Oh, nice.
It's a really nice area. The Tuareg are usually running the place, but
Wouldn't leave
now
Sabah
Libya's
alone,
kind of-
for fuck's sake.
A person close to
it
the
actually has
dossier...
some pretty nice historical things.
A person close to the dossier reported this to the name of the thing, specifying that the plan is already at an advanced stage. Sabha, located in North Libya, around 900 kilometers from Tripoli.
Sorry. Where?
Listen! You read it!
Okay. Located in southern Libya, about 900 kilometers from Tripoli, and just over 1,000 kilometers from the Italian island of Lampedusa. Lampedusa. There we go. Lampedusa. There we go. I got it. Eventually. At least I noticed that I screwed it up. I noticed that I screwed it up.
It's not as easy as it seems.
Does it?
I just lost my place, though. Lampedusa. Okay.
I will say that making Sabah a target is interesting because it is also alleged that Sabah is actually a slave market. According to the 2017 report of the United Nations Migration Agency, and they capture people, or they get people to come in. So, for example, citizens of India have been enslaved because they got encouraged to come in under pretense, get captured and sold as slaves. Here's my recommendation. If you're from virtually anywhere in the world and someone offers you a job in any Muslim majority country, you say no, because a large portion of them will take you as a slave, and that's it. It happens in Qatar, it happens in Saudi Arabia, it happens in the UAE, it happens in North Africa. Just don't. Yeah, Nigeria is warning their citizens don't take jobs in Sabah because they were saying that they were basically sold for about $325 per person.
That's really cheap.
And the UN is saying that there's about 1,000 sales of slaves in that city a month. So the fact that taxi cab driver from Moscow wants to put missiles there is just giving the world another opportunity to respond.
Anyway, a guy got killed.
Ooh.
I don't know. You think I know how to pronounce that? Joke's on you.
I don't even know where we are because we've been moving around.
Right here.
The Italian island of Lampedusa. It's Lampedusa. Represents an ideal strategic point for hitting European targets with medium and long-range missiles. On May 12, he was killed in Tripoli. Abdul Ghani al-Kikli, known as Ganiva, leader of the stability...
Say it again, Dapper.
Abdul Ghani.
Abdul Ghani.
Get it.
I will say it as I would...
Abdul Ghani.
Bruh, I'm from India. Don't. Don't.
So please, Dapper, add your pronunciation because that by the way is actually a really good pronunciation. That I compliment you.
Abdul Ghani al-Kikli. Okay, don't. Known as Ganiva, leader of the Stability Support Device (DSS), at the hands of Brigade 444, a militia royal to the Prime Minister of Libyan Government of National Unity (GUN). Abdul Hamid Dabaiba. What?
National Unity.
I mean, it's probably Hamida, but you know.
I'm gonna kill you. The episode has unleashed the worst spiral of violence in the Libyan capital in recent years, offering Haftar the opportunity to neutralize all rival militias advancing towards Tripoli and take control of the entire country. The person familiar with the dossier explains Haftar, together with the son of his son Saddam, is slowly advancing towards Tripoli to defeat the mosaic of militias defending the capital, arrest or exile the Baiba, sorry, probably to Istanbul and take over all of Libya.
So
According to
that's
this,
that's what they're planning on doing. That's what they're looking for.
I would
apparently.
say
Oh,
that
that's
this
why.
is probably a wet dream of the Moscow taxi cab driver, and that Libya is a failed state at this stage because you got warring factions running the cities along the Mediterranean, and the Tuareg basically rule the desert inside. And
I mean, Libya's been through the ringer recently, so having now to also having Russia knocking on their doorstep is kind of yikes.
And I have
What
some
is-
dear friends in Libya. I hope you're alive. I do finally remember, the hospitality that you gave us in 2006 out there in the eclipse, and I hope someday that your country is stable enough that humans can safely visit. But right now, no, and it's terrifying because I see reports of basically 92 people beheaded and a clan thing in a place that I visited. It's don't go to Libya. It's not nice right now.
And yeah, open your doors to your Libyan neighbors and check on if you're in America, Canada, some other place where there are a lot of people from different countries. Check on your neighbors. Okay. Sweden allocates over 500 million US dollars to strengthen Ukraine's defense capabilities.
Yep.
Go Sweden! Sweden has allocated 4.8 billion Swedish kroner, or about 504 million US dollars, to Ukraine to strengthen its defense capabilities. Details: the government decided on the 22nd of May to instruct the Swedish armed forces to make financial contributions to multilateral funds and initiatives aimed at strengthening Ukraine's defense capabilities. The total amount of donations is about 4.8 billion SEK. This support is part of the 19th aid package presented this year.
They're called sex, Landon. Come on.
The international the international community has established several multilateral funds and initiatives to produce materials and equipment to strengthen Ukraine's defense capabilities. Stockholm contributes to several of them. They stressed that the funds would make the armed forces of Ukraine and the Ukrainian defense industry, quote, stronger in their defense of Russia.
The only thing I have to say about this is
Russia.
what's the
Russia.
headline?
That would be the opposite.
What's the headline again?
Sweden allocates over 500 million US dollars to strengthen Ukraine's defense capabilities.
500 US.
I want to see these
and then
headlines
it
start
says
using like
4.8
Australian
billion?
dollars.
No, it says 500 million USD and it says 4.8 billion Swedish.
About 504 million US they're giving a now. I always say that Sweden's military is one of the most capable in the world, and Sweden also has, but they not exercise nuclear capability. They walked right up to the line of thermonuclear capabilities and decided to not pull the trigger and step back, because being in the nuclear club has complications. But the skill and the technology that Sweden's military has is substantial. And it was a fundamental error of the Moscow taxi cab driver to push Sweden, which had a history of being neutral, into one of the more substantial NATO members in there. It is, alongside Finland joining, it's another failed thing that taxi cab driver did in his attempt to try to stop NATO expansion. It wasn't NATO expansion; those countries jumped in and joined NATO because of mutual defense, and we really welcome Sweden's participation in there because those folks are serious. They have some very serious, very capable piece of hardware, and Agent Orange. Hamburger eating dude in the White House, Sweden and Finland's joining of NATO substantially enhance NATO's capabilities.
Am I allowed to move on already?
Yes.
So
Wow, I
Russia
never get to move on that fast. Let's go! Next one! Macron warns that the West could lose credibility over Ukraine and Gaza wars.
Yes.
France's President Emmanuel Macron warns the U.S. and Europe risk losing their credibility and being accused of double standards if they do not resolve the wars in Ukraine and Gaza soon. He also appealed to Asian countries to build new alliances with Europe to ensure they do not become collateral damage in the struggle for power between the United States and China.
Double standards is the norm in international politics.
But we'd rather it not be.
Yes.
I think that is a quaint notion that a country would be consistent and have a. But yes, but he's right. Macron has a point that the countries that are decrying what's going on in Ukraine and pretend not to pay attention to what's going on in Gaza are, yeah.
I honestly think that the West lost credibility when they did things like backed the U.S.'s war in Iraq, or to a lesser extent Afghanistan, or Vietnam. Or when they ignored things, or even sided with, say, Saudi Arabia's horrible oppression of the religious majority, by the way, in Yemen, against the minority-led, that was rebelling against the minority-led government that happened to be religiously aligned with the clerics in Saudi Arabia. Because let's not beat around the bush. The Houthis aren't great, but they're the good guys when it comes to the government of Yemen and Saudi Arabia versus the Houthis.
Yeah,
they're the good guys.
They're special. Let's put it that way.
Yeah. So it's like I don't disagree with Macron, but like my guy, you are about 50 years at least late to that party of the West is losing credibility with the rest of the world.
Losing credibility.
And so, but to be fair to say, hey, you've been duplicitous here. You don't have a say. All right. Name a country other than perhaps maybe Andorra that's not had a duplicitous set of international.
I will take 10 years too late than never at all. At least they're starting to maybe figure it out about some things. Like, for example, I don't know, the absolute definitely not ironic scenario with a number of democratically elected and voted in governments that America has toppled and installed fascist dictators into for their own benefit, and now Russia's doing it to them, and like it's hard to feel bad. You know what I mean?
I will say this: while the U.S. is certainly the biggest perpetrator on that front,
not the only.
It is far from it's far from the only. And also,
definitely.
when it comes to countries, I'm going to say like San Marino, Lesotho, Tuvalu, Trinidad and Tobago. Mauritius. No, not Mauritius. I'm sorry. I was thinking of a different country. Not that one. But yeah, I can come up with countries, Landon.
Walls and Fortuna. There's one. I don't think that they have.
Listen, we take what we can get, and at least they're getting there. But that moves us on to our second conflict that we're going to talk about today: Gaza and Israel. So, in Canada, doctors.
I need more beer for this.
Yeah, go get it. In Canada, doctors who had served in Gaza call for an arms embargo sanctions on Israel. So there was testimony that was given in Canada and reported on, and it's all live, so you can go watch it if you want to. Because there's no journalists allowed in Gaza right now and not allowed at the West Bank, the best that they have is doctors who have come back and are reporting about what's going on and what it looks like there. And so it says, Canadian medical professionals who treated wounded Palestinians in the Gaza Strip are urging Ottawa to stop all military trade with Israel. The doctor said Wednesday Canada's current restrictions on arms exports to Israel aren't good enough, and they allege Canadian firms are still making military components being used in Gaza. Israel has insisted for months that its military operations in Gaza are meant to stop the threat posed by Hamas, but it has faced a wave of international condemnation over the high civilian death counts and its restriction on aid, including food and medical supplies. So for anybody who doesn't know, also Canada, Britain, and France have threatened action if Israel does not stop military offensives and lift aid restrictions. And what happened in a matter of days... Yeah, finally. And what happened in a matter of days, Netanyahu got really mad, bitched and moaned about it, and pissed his pants. And then Canadian diplomats who were there getting a tour got shot at by Israeli forces. So things may or may not be escalating, and well, I guess we'll see.
Such a bitch.
I'm going to point out there are very few countries. I'm going to point out real quick. There are very few countries against which Israel has not openly committed acts that would cause a war if it were perpetrated by any other group. Let's not forget, as far as I know, the only U.S. warship to be sunk since World War II was sunk by the Israeli Defense Force.
Yeah. And one of the problems with the way that the Israeli government operates in the Knesset is it's virtually impossible for a government to have a vote of no confidence and fall, the way that they've designed things. So once the Israeli voters who are allowed to vote put in the government, it would really require another election to get that government out. And currently, the Netanyahu, in his attempt to try to stay out of jail, aligning with really extremists in his government, sort of compels him to favor extreme measures. And I'll have to say this to the state of Israel: you have burned through nearly all of your goodwill that came about over the years, and you should be very concerned that the Israeli public and the voting public should be very concerned about the reputation. Now, there is this notion of, well, every world against Israel, and Israel has to defend itself. We're talking more than that. We're simply talking about a very serious situation where it is less likely that the government of Israel can garner sympathy when terrible acts like what Hamas did to it in the invasion occur. It's harder and harder for politicians to justify supporting retaliation of those terrible terrorist attacks, and that's a bad thing.
One thing that you'll notice, for example, and you can see sort of the shift in what's been going on in the way the world operates, is you see France, Canada, and the UK operating together without America. Remember, America was the one who vetoed the ceasefire from the UN taking more aggressive actions, and was sort of almost standing in the way of a lot of these countries stepping forward like they are now, taking at least a more aggressive stance, because people had to be playing nice with America, but because now America isn't playing nice with anybody else, they don't care to bother with them. Somebody asked Mark Carney, the current Prime Minister of Canada, about talking to the US and talking to specifically JD Vance, who was there when they made this announcement, and they were like, well, did you talk to JD Vance about this? Did you ask him anything? And he said, no, I just told him that this is what we were doing. He's like, I didn't give him all of the details, but I made him aware that this was what was going to happen. And so seeing these kinds of things not having the White House being at least consulted on is, at least I think, showing a shift.
Yeah. But also, when's the last time the UN actually mattered in trying to stop a major conflict like that?
Sure.
That's a problem with the UN as well. Is a system where the UN becomes ineffectual other than people griping, complaining. And if you ever go to the UN and listen, you essentially hear a bunch of people complaining, and everyone ignoring them. But Israel itself was attacked by Hamas, and Hamas is using the Israeli response to justify its continued dictatorship over Gaza.
I have a little bit of a different opinion about that, because I think you're right, but I would also probably posit that Hamas got exactly what it wanted in its initial attack, is that Israel had already been problematic towards Israel for a long time, and vice versa, and what Hamas wanted was attention. And that's exactly what they got. Now, that hasn't been good necessarily for the people, and depending on by what metric you're talking about, but it did certainly get the world's attention.
And let's be fair. It's the government of Iran that supplied Hamas with the capability of the attack and celebrated when they did so.
Yeah.
It was a failure of the Israeli Defense Forces to foresee this. And I would suggest to the voters of Israel, hold Netanyahu in contempt for failing to do his job, not in this brutal war. And on the other hand, people in Gaza, you've got to stop supporting Hamas, because Hamas took over. They assassinated the Palestinian Authority. They've taken over dictatorship. They've made it impossible for people. So I would say, if I were a Gaza person, I would be also looking at grabbing Hamas leaders and put them aside, saying, "Here, take this dude, take this dude, take this dude," because the people in Gaza are victims of Hamas and Iran, Israel, and its supporters.
I think it's a little bit bold to ask the people of Gaza to do anything but survive right now. But that's just my opinion.
I agree.
I don't know. But I think Landon makes.
Say this.
Oh yeah, go ahead.
Oh, sorry. So let's say I'm going to turn these tables, right? The French resistance during World War II did things that could very justifiably be considered acts of terrorism.
Mm-hmm.
I think that right now, asking Palestinians to not support Hamas is like asking Jewish French people in hiding not to support the French resistance during World War II.
I fundamentally disagree with that comparison.
I mean, okay.
I'm going to move on to the next one. This is a more in-depth conversation for another day, because I think Landon has an interesting point that shows up where I think the people who have the most say in about what's going on right now is the Israeli people. Opposition to Gaza,
almost all to say.
Right. Opposition to Gaza war grows among Israeli soldiers as strikes ramp up. This is the shit you're really not going to hear about. Barely noticeable, only a few months ago, opposition is growing about fresh Israeli operations in Gaza, even among the country's military reservists, some of whom have publicly called out the government for what they say is an immoral and politically motivated decision to continue the war. Quote, I refuse... Oh, why are you doing that? I refuse to commit war crimes. Quote, the patriotic thing to do is to say no. Quote, as an Israeli, as a human being, I am calling on the Israeli government to stop starving 2 million people, he said, adding that he felt shame and guilt because, quote, people inside Gaza are starving to death.
They are. It's a very,
also,
very situation. I also call on the countries to hold the government in Iran responsible for starting this. And so you're talking about bringing leaders of consequence. The Iranian leaders and their religious nutcases need to be brought to justice, in my opinion.
Yeah. Israel has also been blockading aid, especially food, to Gaza, which is, in my opinion, is a war crime. To stop, food from reaching people. That's absolutely unacceptable. And I think so that might be one of the reasons why the Israeli soldiers are now feeling that twinge on their conscience that, people are not getting food and medical supplies that they should have a right to, in my opinion. It should be criminal to not allow food.
It is.
I would ask the people in Israel that are allowed to vote, because that's not people in Israel, people that don't vote, to when the election comes in, hold Netanyahu accountable for failing to anticipate the Hamas attack and for the way he's prosecuted the war. And this is a very thing. I understand that Hamas is an evil organization put up by the really bad people of the government of Iran that has done terrible things to Israel, but don't let that excuse dissuade you from holding the Israeli government accountable. And if you can kick out the current nutcases in the Knesset, you can bring Netanyahu to justice, because he, like the taxi cab driver in Moscow, needs to be brought to justice and held accountable for his war crimes. It doesn't matter that Hamas has done it. This is not an equivalent thing.
Right.
It is holding him responsible. So the leader of Hamas, if he's still alive, or she's still alive, and the leader of the Israeli government that is perpetrating this thing, and the religious leaders of Iran need to be brought to justice, in my opinion. And the other thing, of course, is I wish the Middle East wasn't so important. I wish it would be treated like some sideshow, and that the world can focus on anything else. I'm tired of the Middle East becoming this thing that occupies the mindset of the world. We have a lot of other problems going on in the stage that we are not paying attention to.
Stop doing proxy wars.
What's happening in Sudan, what's happening in Niger. There are big problems, and unfortunately the Middle East seems to have a disproportionate mind share in the press.
One last thing to jump to for this one, and it is specifically that Israel warns Europe that Palestine recognition may be met with West Bank annexation.
Oh.
Yeah, fucking who, dude? Like I said, Netanyahu pissed his pants because France and fucking Canada and fucking the UK told him to fucking cut it out. Israeli government ministers have reportedly warned key European countries that any unilateral recognition of a Palestine state could prompt Israel to take unilateral measures as well, potentially including the annexation of parts of the West Bank, according to Monday's report. Strategic Affairs Minister Ron Dermer personally warned French Foreign Minister Jean-Noël Barrot, I don't know if I'm pronouncing it right, and British Foreign Secretary David Lammy that Israel could respond to recognition of a Palestine state by annexing Area C of the West Bank and legalizing unauthorized outposts. And that they reported, citing the foreign diplomat, foreign diplomat familiar with the matter.
The sad thing is that much of the West Bank is under Israeli control and authority, and that the situation in the West Bank, while it's not as bad as Gaza, is still under attack, because there are people that Palestinian Authority is trying to stop that are attacking Israel, and Israel attacking them, and settlers and right-wing stuff. It's a terrible situation.
What that is exactly why you don't negotiate with terrorists. You don't do it.
Yes. Yeah, don't do it. Don't do it. And I think, the case again for this situation is this threat about, if you do this, we're going to invade. Well, hey,
hey there,
the government of Taiwan should be recognized. Countries should go to Taiwan and say, let's set up an embassy and recognize Taiwan as an independent country, because the Chinese Communist Party has never, ever, ever run Taiwan. Taiwan has been an independent country forever, and guess what? It's not part of China. There's one China policy. It's in China, not in Taiwan. So tell Emperor Winnie the Pooh, go F himself. If you're going to be consistent, do that to Taiwan as well as the West Bank.
All right, Maanyaa, tell us about Pakistan and India.
And China.
Oh, okay.
By the way, China's involved in the Kashmir.
Like China is involved. They have supported Pakistan because India is smack right in the middle of Pakistan and China. So they put pressure on India because India supports the independence of Tibet. Like, they support Tibet, and China doesn't like that. So what's happened is that a few weeks ago, a terrorist attack happened in the Indian part of Kashmir. We don't call it Indian occupied Kashmir because that's not how it is. Kashmir has been part of India since the independence, since the king of Kashmir, signed the declaration to join India. There are many controversies around that. Some people say that he was coerced into joining, but what happened was that Kashmir, the king of Kashmir, he wanted to stay independent, and Pakistan didn't like that because the majority of the population was Muslim. The king was Hindu, the population was Muslim, and Pakistan was of the opinion that all, Muslim majority states around Pakistan territory should be part of Pakistan, and they decided to launch an attack to try and annex that. And in that case, the king of Kashmir approached India for help. India was like, "You are not part of India. We cannot provide you military support." You can say that's a dick move on part of India, but it is what it is because at international level, they have to justify why they help. So what happened was the king of Kashmir, they said, okay, we'll become part of India. And since then, this war has been happening between Pakistan and India, where Pakistan has said that, and based on that, what Pakistan has done is they have sponsored terrorism in India. Based on that, we had the 26/11 in Mumbai, the terrible attacks that happened. And now recently we had attacks in Pahalgam, which is a region in Kashmir where a lot of tourism happened, right? And this happened, for me, the timing is a bit sus because what happened was that, if I'm not wrong, Apple had moved their manufacturing, were planning to, or had moved a lot of their manufacturing facilities from China to India because of the tariffs that were placed on China by Trump, right? So I guess the timing was sus in my opinion, because that kind of shows that China and Pakistan work together against India, because obviously China, if you show that there's destabilization in India due to something, the manufacturers would take that into consideration, and that was almost successful if I'm not wrong. There were some part of manufacturing that was revoked in India for the iPhones, and so what has happened since then is India launched a counter-strike since that terrorist attack. The thing was that people might say, well, how do you know it's a terrorist attack? The thing was that when the killings were happening in Pahalgam, the attackers were specifically asking people whether they could recite Quran and the Kalma of the Quran, and if they couldn't, they would shoot them. If they could, they were also asking them to strip so they could confirm whether they were circumcised or not, and then shoot them. And then there were ladies who were like saying, "Can you please shoot me? Don't shoot my, my husband or something." They were like, "Nah, you're gonna go back and tell them that we shot, your partner." That's why they let some of the people go. They were like, "You're gonna tell this story." So yeah, it was a Pakistan-sponsored terrorist attack. Obviously, Pakistan says no, it wasn't us, but everyone knows in the world, Pakistan has. Listen, I'm on a rant, so please keep listening. So Pakistan has harbored Osama bin Laden. So we know that Pakistan sponsors terrorism, and
also,
so
go ahead.
India launched counter strikes, and they went on for some days. I had never realized that I would be part of that. I was worried about my family. My brother, he serves in the Navy. Luckily, he wasn't called to duty. He was studying, so they left him alone. They said, "Okay, you keep studying." And for the first time in my life, I was actually like scared that never in my life had I seen I had expected that my family would be part of a war where I would be worried about whether a missile is going to fall on them.
And then Trump took credit for it, and India got pissed.
And it's fuck you, fuck out of here, get the fuck out of here.
For disclosure, I think I am the only person in this panel that's actually been to Kashmir. But I was in
yeah.
I've been in I was just asking, right? I've been in it was in the north central part of Kashmir. But this is the thing about the Kashmiri people. I was there as under the guise of China. And when I was there, I asked people, they'll say, well, I asked some Kashmiri people, they say, well, we're Chinese. Why? Because the Chinese authorities were there. And kind of on the side, I said, are you really Chinese? Because you don't really seem Chinese as well. They said, well, when Pakistan shows up, we're Pakistani. When India shows up, we're Indian. And when China shows up.
Oh God,
And they were very, and as I say, they were saying like, explain to me like I was a child, saying, isn't that obvious? I believe that Kashmir should become an independent state, and Kashmiri people rule Kashmir, not India, not Pakistan, not China. Let Kashmiri people become Kashmir. And I was disappointed that this so-called king of Kashmir capitulated. I think that just made Kashmir's worse. Let the people of Kashmir, who are wonderful people, it's a beautiful paradise. Let them be an independent
I'll give you a pushback.
entity. Okay.
I'll give you a pushback on that one. So what has happened is over last some of the years, even more than 2 decades, there has been population displacement. The terrorism that has been sponsored by Pakistan has driven out the Hindu population that was in that area. And they want to come back home. If Kashmir becomes independent, which is fine, will they be able to return back? That's the question. And number 2, there's the strategic importance of Kashmir also. I get it. Kashmir can become independent, but will it be able to sustain itself when it's independent? You don't know that. I'm fine. If it becomes independent, can sustain itself, I'm fine with it. The problem is, because I'm from India, you might understand where I'm coming from. Kashmir is a link between Pakistan and China, right? And if Kashmir, that's why there's this fight between Pakistan and India. And also a lot of river sources go through Kashmir.
And that's why China comes in there, because of that link.
I have one question.
Yes.
Just a quick one, and then we'll take a break.
Yeah.
Is there a legal secession way for Kashmir to separate from India? So like the same way if Alberta wants to leave Canada, there is like a process they can go through, and it's a lot more like if Quebec wants to leave Canada, there is a process. So. No, is there one for or an equivalent of?
Not in the Indian Constitution, there isn't. But there was a talk of allowing the Kashmiris to have a referendum, and that's where this whole problem hold on. But there's this problem. That's what I'm talking about, the Hindu population being displaced there because their vote would have mattered.
Yeah, no, that's okay. That's I'm not trying to say there isn't. I just wanted to know if there was a process.
The problem is that if Kashmir become an independent state, then I don't know who would be China or India or Pakistan to invade first and take them over, right? That's part of the problem.
That's
they're currently protected.
Sure. And India's not going to take that chance. I don't blame anyone.
And China's not going to allow it.
Yeah.
The Chinese Communist Party has this belligerency of this is China. You think that the wacky stuff they did with that 9-dashed line of that stupid map is bad. China, if they're given a half a chance, would take over Kashmir. Because they believe it's China.
They have attacked the northeast states of India also. They have done that in the past.
It's almost like geopolitics is a little bit not as simple as, well, what do the people want? Thank you so much. We're going to take a quick break. We will be back shortly. Go to the bathroom, get your snacks, get your drinks. We are out of the topic now of current ongoing conflicts. We are going to be moving into regional stories, current military changes in countries. Then after that, we'll move into disasters and some interesting stuff that's gone on with just animals. Because cute animals, yay! We will be right back. Thank you so much. Maanya's empty chair. Hello, welcome back. Hoi, 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 hoi. What's going on? I hope you're happy to be
Who
here.
wins?
I don't want to wait for her. She'll be back eventually. Oh, there she is.
Hi, Maanyaa.
Hey, Maanyaa, welcome back.
Did you make fresh tea?
I hope so.
What kind of tea?
Halfway through. It's regular tea. It's in the regular.
What does that mean? Does that mean
tea bag.
black tea, green tea?
White tea with oat.
Okay.
White tea with oat milk?
Oh.
Yeah.
So,
See, that's an answer.
today I
Regular
went
tea
back
doesn't mean
and
anything.
helped make this wonderful thing. By the way, what's the proper pronunciation? Maanyaa?
Don't do that to me. Don't. Popper, that's popper.
Alright, are you guys
Okay.
ready to jump into our next set of stuff?
I'm hungry.
No, but we're gonna do it anyway.
We're gonna do it anyway. Let's go.
Ooh.
Welcome.
God, it's flying right at me.
It's coming right for you. All right. So this is just sort of military updates for just different countries around the world. North Korea has deployed a mystery balloon.
I think I know the solution to the mystery.
Do you think so?
Yeah, I think it's so that there doesn't look like there's a sinking or sunken ship right off their coast. I think that's it. I think that's the entire mystery.
The entire
Kim Jong-un
mystery.
is just like, wait, there's this, our ship's saying, okay, what if we
What if
just
it
cover it
didn't?
with a bunch of plastic?
What if it didn't? What if it
What if we
didn't?
just
say?
hide it? Yeah.
You'll
What if
never
we hide it and then we
find
say, nope.
They'll never know.
Green screen? Green screen it? Is that what it is?
New
I mean,
satellite
you gotta
images.
remember,
Go ahead.
oh, sorry, go ahead. I was gonna say, you gotta remember, this is the country that built an entire, like, pyramid hotel in its capital city that dominates the skyline and doesn't want anyone to talk about it because they never finished the interior and it's all just a facade. And that's just been the case for decades. No one has ever stayed at this hotel. And they're just like, shh, don't worry about it.
It's fine. It's fine.
But the face is important than the substance behind it. To
Right,
some
but that's what
people.
I'm saying. I think that North Korea might have just said, "Ah, man, a sunken ship. Well, that doesn't look good. But if we put a tarp over it,
I just
I
like
think that
I
might
like
be
that
all that it is."
CNN went out of its
So-
way
so-
to say it's a mystery balloon-like
Mystery
object.
balloon.
it's clearly
I
just a
feel
giant
sorry
tarp.
for the families of the people that were involved in the ship because I know undoubtedly
Yeah.
the fat dude has been murdering both the people involved and their families' relations. It's a
Yeah.
Or just
he's
making them do
he's
hard
unhappy.
Yeah. New satellite images show that North Korea has deployed what appear to be balloons alongside its damaged 5,000-ton warship that has been lying on its side and partially submerged
There we go.
since a botched launch last week. While the purpose of the objects
Oh.
is unclear, experts told CNN they could be used to help get the ship back upright or protect it from prying eyes of drones. The stricken destroyer was the country's newest warship and was meant to be a triumph of North Korea's ambitious naval modernization effort. Instead, a malfunction in the launch mechanism on May 21st caused the stern to slide prematurely into the water, crushing parts of the hull and leaving the bow
Prematurely in the water?
Yeah,
Prematurely?
prematurely into water.
What does that mean? That's like the front fell off? But
Yeah, I
they
guess.
attached, so it went underneath.
I mean, it means that they weren't ready to actually, launch the boat.
Yeah.
And so rather than making all the preparations to make sure that it would launch properly, it would right itself, that it was actually watertight, it just kind of slid into the water. It turns out, launching a boat or a ship is actually a highly technical and tricky and dangerous thing to do, and you can't
You
just
won't
half-ass
say.
it.
You don't say. You don't say.
We're talking to
Yeah.
somebody who's been in the Navy, so
Yeah.
so
North Korean
Safety
leader,
reasons.
Fat Man, who witnessed the failed launch in the northeastern city, called it a criminal act and ordered the country to swiftly repair the as yet unnamed ship
That's not going to happen.
before the late June plenary session of the ruling Workers' Party, calling it a matter of national honor. I just have one question about all this, and I needed to show this picture.
Honor.
Because why is Fat Man dressed up like he's cosplaying John Goodman's bad guy from fucking Oh Brother, Where Art Thou?
I want to point out that the alleged fat dude up there weight is 140 kilograms, which if you are metrically challenged, call that 22 stone.
Why isn't he diabetic or something like that yet?
EU sanctions Syria militias accused of attacks on Alawites. I don't know if that's the correct
Alawites.
Alawites.
So these are a religious minority group that's pretty common, especially in Syria, and they have been lately declaring themselves to be Muslims, although that is something that they had not been doing previously. And it's also the religious identity of the al-Assad family that was the dictators in Syria. And so,
May he rest in bad places.
Right. So while it's definitely a good thing that the Assad family is out of power in Syria, it turns out that the new regime has been targeting just random Alawis for harassment, death, displacement. So, yeah, it's not great to be them. And to be fair, they were given unearned privileges in the previous regime. I just don't think that the appropriate response to that now is to go around doing horrible things to them.
Yeah, European Union lifted a wide range of sanctions on Syria on Wednesday, but slapped new ones on people and groups. It says participated attacks on civilians during a wave of violence in the Syrian coastal region in March. The move lifted most sanctions that had been imposed on the country, including its financial system, while keeping them in place on individuals and organizations in Syria. It says violated human rights for security grounds, like the extended family of the former President Assad, or its chemical weapons program, according to the text of the European Council's decision.
So here's the thing that Dapper's previous comment about letting fat leaders fly. Now that Assad is no longer leader of Syria, he can personally be held accountable for his war crimes.
I don't think he will be.
Because the taxi cab driver in Moscow is protecting him.
It's all coming back to Russia. Also, sorry, go ahead. You wanted to, go ahead.
I'm just saying, like, for like far right who and Fox News who talk about a lot of conspiracy theories and stuff all the time, it never occurs to them that Russia might have poisoned their well with all their online internet fog groups and to the extent which now they don't know what is reality and what is
Maanyaa.
fiction. And it's that is not acceptable. Putin is a great guy though. So,
and that's the thing is why the Gentlemen of Putin organization called the GOP and their populist MAGA folks are Russian sycophants and Russian stooges, in my opinion. I think eventually they will be held accountable and be embarrassed and pretend like they were never Russian. But and it's not just U.S. because Canada had Pee-Pee, who was a Russian duped stooge, try to become leader of Canada.
Yeah, it's all over the world. Speaking of Canada,
this is bothering me. Wait, no, that was bothering me. Hold on, go back a second. The Arabic doesn't say Latakia; it says Latakia, and I hate it, and I want it to go away.
Yeah, but you know what? The other thing I was always Dapper. I was noticing that site is in remarkable condition, given what's happened in the area. It's
probably relatively new, but I hate that the Arabic and the Latin don't match up.
You say you hate it and you want it to go away, and you won't let me move on.
No. I don't want this picture to go away. I want the sign itself in real life
obliterated.
Go fuck off.
Obliterated.
Yeah, and it's a thing. But I think that highway has other problems, like militia people.
But there's only one that I can easily fix, and it's that sign. That's the one I can fix if they just let me. Like, wait,
Yes.
just
Okay,
take that
let
T.
Dapper fix that
Like
sign.
a
We'll start a
TH.
GoFundMe.
Yeah, take the T from Latakia, put an H after it, and then instead of the K, put a Q. Fixed.
Thank you, Dapper, because I was trying to actually pronounce the
Dapper
Arabic.
is so done today. He's just like,
And I was
damn
having
it,
a problem.
the dinosaurs.
Now I understand why.
All right.
It's because the Arabic didn't match at all.
Canada.
It also says Al-Latakia, but like whatever, I don't care. You can leave off.
And
the
where's the
care.
Klingon? The sign should have Klingon subtitles.
I agree, but that comes in later. Eventually, we can adopt worldwide Klingon subtitles. Just not right now. It's fine.
So done.
Grab some hot sauce, Chesh.
This one hasn't been opened yet. Garlic
Well,
and
there's
herb.
not many.
What's the name?
Ooh,
Garden
that sounds
herb.
good.
Yeah.
Should I
Sounds
get some hot
nice.
sauce?
What number is it at?
It's number 2. Carney says,
Look,
You
I'm
never
just
got
saying,
number
there
2?
aren't many problems in the world that I know the solution to. That's one of them.
Okay, so Chesh, I have parallels with firefighters hot sauce, which is really great. You buy this as a charity, so let's both chug. Come on.
Chesh is having trouble with the packaging.
So this particular thing,
Ask Mark Carney to help.
by firefighters in Palo Alto, and the proceeds go to charity. So we'll both chug this jalapeno peppers, water, blah blah blah. There it is. Okay. Let's
1,
go.
2, 3.
Go! Go, go, go!
Oof.
Mm.
How was it?
It goes well with tequila. Wow.
This
Wow.
will go well
Fair
with
enough.
tequila.
Okay,
Yes.
all right, that's good.
What do you?
that's good.
What's your rating? What's the goblin rating on that?
I like this one. This one is a rating that I'm going to keep this bottle so I can buy it at the grocery store.
There you go.
Ooh.
All right. Can I move on now?
Were we distracted?
I
So
believe you
and
do it in Arabic.
I will
Oh my
end
God.
your
Klingon.
life.
Or Klingon, yeah, you could do it in Klingon.
I'll kill you. All right. Carney says Canada is looking to join major European military buildup by July 1st. On July 1st is Canada Day, and Carney has a handful of things that he wants done, or at least moving into for July 1st. One of them is all the barriers between the provinces being down. This is another one. So what he says specifically is Prime Minister Mark Carney signaled he hopes Canada will be able to sign onto a major European defense rearmament plan by July 1st, a step towards reducing the country's dependency on the United States for weapons and munition. He remarks on CBC's Power and Politics, which is a 1 hour or so long interview that they did with Carney, following the speech from the throne, which committed his government to joining Rearm Europe. So, I mean,
Trish,
this
I have a
doesn't surprise me.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Why is Carney not talking about joining the Trump's Golden Shower Dome?
We're actually going to get to that, because that's another one. Do you want me to bump that one up?
You missed.
Let's
you
bump
missed
that one
the-
up.
She missed the Golden Shower Dome.
I did not. I'm just used to that's what it's called here.
I do want to say one thing, which is that I support the idea of the countries that are not the U.S. that have in the past had military alliances just cutting the U.S. out of military operations, because quite frankly, the U.S. is not a trustworthy country in terms of things like military alliances, continuing to pay obligations for joint military actions. I think it might be time for, say, most of the countries to join an alternate UN that doesn't have permanent Security Council members, and then say, fuck off, US, if you want to have special veto power over literally everything.
And did anyone explain to the gentleman in Putin party and MAGA and Agent Orange that there's something called NORAD? Why is he trying to build something called the Golden Shower Dome? Unless he's...
Well, because NORAD doesn't have gold in it. And have you seen his apartment in New York?
Have you seen the Oval Office?
I mean, the
Trump,
Oval Office doesn't have that much gold, does it?
yeah, it does now.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Trump
that's fair.
alleged that he basically spray painted the eagle at the top of the Oval Office with 24 karat gold. Because,
That is not a thing you can do.
Spending cuts. Cuts to the government misuse of money. I don't know. Blah, blah,
Yeah,
blah.
I will say one of my favorite things is
Oh my
an
god.
attempt to cut waste and fraud to save trillions of dollars off the budget, while then trying to get a spending bill that would add a whole bunch more to the deficit that apparently you were trying to save. And
Yeah.
it's like
It's because MAGA and the Gentleman Putin organization are economic vandals.
It's
And
almost
the
like
next
they're
time you
liars
say
or
the
something.
Republicans are best on
Yeah.
the economy, remember the economic vandalism that is consistent with people that suffer from libertarian malaise.
it is a historical fact that the only time that Republicans actually vote to reduce government deficits is when there is a Democratic president in office. And
Yeah.
they're in the minority in both houses of the legislature.
Yeah.
Only when they have control of nothing do they vote to reduce government spending. So if you want someone to reduce government spending, you should stop voting for the GOP because they will only ever try when they can't.
So there's a couple of things about that I just want to point out before we move on from Carney, and it's that this is a little bit more of a big deal than people might realize because of the economic ramifications. Donald Trump has ostensibly, for all intents and purposes, kneecapped the military-industrial complex. And
The
Canada,
military-industrial complex took an arrow to the knee.
yeah, oh, absolutely took at least an arrow to the knee, if not a ballista. And so because of that, it means that the world still needs to be armed and is prepping even further to be armed, harder, better, faster, stronger, because of the way that Donald Trump has positioned with Russia, as well as, whatever's going on with China right now. So the rest of the world basically is responding by not only just moving away from America military projects, but also their contracts in general. Like, so even if it's built somewhere else, nobody wants to buy it because nobody trusts America. And so because nobody is trusting America right now, it means that there's going to be a massive, massive, massive boom of military contracts and construction and manufacturing that is likely going to happen in Canada. And the reason I say it's likely going to happen in Canada is that's the main reason it seems that Carney is wanting to join, not because we need to arm ourselves, which we do. That's not to say we're not going to. That's more to say that that's likely the direction he's going to be leaning in. And there's a couple of reasons. One is also because Donald Trump has also kneecapped the automotive industry. And by kneecapping the automotive industry, it means there's going to be a lot of skilled manufacturing workers and machinery and infrastructure that is going to be sitting there with nothing to do, so it's going to get reworked, reappropriated into doing military work. On top of that, Canada has the resources, because we have, in-house. And so because Canada has, the minerals, the steel, the aluminum, the material that goes into these products, it's going to allow Europe to rearm faster, because Canadians are not only notoriously fast, we are also notoriously good at this, as well as this is disregarding whoever is doing military contracts in America deciding to flee America, like the engineers, like the scientists who are like, get me the fuck out, bro! And Canada's sitting literally right the fuck there.
Sure.
There is
Hey, come on through!
There's one other factor, and it is that I think, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, you can disagree with me, I think that Trump is scared, piss himself scared of war with Canada. For a couple of reasons. One, I think he's willing to bloviate about anybody. But, so he'll bloviate about Greenland, he'll bloviate about whatever with Russia, because that's far away. Mr. Bone Spurs isn't gonna want to go to war on his own land right next door, let alone with anybody, let alone with Canada. He barely wants to do it with Mexico. He's been teasing that. He's been playing with that a little bit, but that's because he thinks Mexico is weak. He is piss scared of Canada. We have a fucking history. We are notorious. And by the time he manages to stabilize his regime, if he is able to do that at all. We're talking about that won't be by the end till like the end of his term. We're talking about minimum of 4 years. By then, if Carney's talking about joining and being set up in June, we're gonna be 3 years in to rearmament and shipping shit out by the time he's even ready to even try moving that kind of direction.
America,
I
you
hope
done
that
fucked.
you're right. I think Trump is too stupid to be scared of Canada.
I don't know. I don't think so.
Well said. No, I agree with Dapper.
I don't think so, because I think if he was too stupid to be scared of Canada, he'd be threatening annexation with actual troops. He'd be like, we have military.
But the thing is, there are
I don't
people
think
he
he
still
understands.
listens to. And I think the people he still listens to are saying, it's probably best that we not currently invade Canada because, and then they'll give him some excuse, and it doesn't even have to matter if it's true or not. But as long as it flatters his ego more than he thinks his ego will be flattered by actually launching an invasion of Canada, then he won't do it. And and maybe I'm wrong. Look, I could be wrong. I am not saying that this is a fact that I know.
Yeah.
I am saying my assessment is that this man is fundamentally too stupid to be scared of something like that. However, he still has people whispering in his ears who have goals that would be undermined by invading Canada.
Yeah.
Like, you think
I think
Project
that's
2025
also-
is going to go faster if they invade
I think
Canada?
it's just too
No, obviously not.
narcissistic to care.
I see.
He's just
I
too
also
narcissistic to
like.
care.
I don't know. I agree that I think that's also a factor, but I also have noticed that the FBI director of America has started to try to position Canada put Canada in the position that Mexico has been in. About, oh, there's drug cartels. Oh, there's all this stuff coming over the border. And it's stupid.
They're smuggling Kinder eggs over the border.
Yeah, you better look out.
But-
Your
but-
kids
but-
are gonna
but-
choke on them. Think of the children.
To Chesh's point as well, both Sweden and France have been actively engaged in discussions with the Canadian government about exactly what she's talking about, both the Canadian
Kinder
manufacturing and skill base, as well as Canadian even
No, the
purchasing non-U.S. Defense matters for Canada.
I hope you guys know that every year 3 billion Canadian children choke to death on Kinder Surprise toys. 3 billion.
That's a lot. That's a lot of children. So, speaking of the Golden Dome,
Many children?
I have a couple of questions about the Golden Dome. It doesn't
Yes.
seem
Aren't you chugging yours?
it's empty. I drank it all. I did it all in the
I'm
first
sorry.
go. I
I'm
destroyed
sorry, I have
it.
250 ml. I have 250 ml. I can't. This is not
Not
fair
in this
comparison.
Landon.
This was
Not in this
this is only 20. This is only 20 milliliters.
So basically, it's a shot.
Yeah, it's a shot.
All right, I'll stop.
So,
Actually, I think
Trump's-
a shot is 15 mils, isn't it?
probably. Maybe it's a double. We'll call it a double. Trump's
Well, that
going.
would be 30 mils.
Yeah, but we're
7
just gonna
hours
call it a
later.
Trump's.
Shot and a third.
I'm gonna. We have so much to get through. Trump's Golden Dome plan has a major obstacle: physics. So, besides the fact that Trump needs approval
Fake science.
from. Right? Besides that, Trump needs approval from Ottawa, from Canada, to be able to even make his dome operable, which, by the way, used to be called the Iron Dome, but he changed it to gold because I love gold! Fucking freak. There's a couple
I think
of
he also
major-
might have done it to differentiate it from a similarly named project in Israel called the Iron Dome.
Oh, now who's overestimating Trump's intelligence?
I don't think he named it. I think someone else was like, hey,
Call it gold.
what if we
He
call
loves
it
gold.
this?
Yeah.
Like, I don't think he came up with this name. I
So-
barely think he's making any decisions at all.
So apparently the
I
system's
think Trump would call
capabilities...
it the Trump dome.
The system's capabilities are likely to remain relatively limited within the next 15 years, the report argues. And the
Longer
Dome
than he'll
Initiative...
hopefully be alive.
Right. The Golden Dome Initiative aims to protect the country from more capable adversaries such as Russia and China, which is a far more difficult task.
Russia and China? Russia?
Yeah, Russia and
Oh,
China. So here's the thing, right? As much as Trump is quote unquote playing nice with Putin or yelling at Putin or tweeting about Putin or whatever the fuck he's doing, the military is still operating as the military, as it's I don't want to call it independent, but it's still doing whatever initiatives. That's why you still see America, the United States, listed when we went over those 4 countries from before, United States that allowed Ukraine to fire deep, right? So the military is still doing
I can
military
almost
things.
guarantee you Trump had nothing to do with.
Absolutely.
And for the record, I have worked with Frank Lamb of Urbana-Champaign.
Do we think that this Golden Dome, even if it was put up in 15 years, would be effective against missile development at a rate that is 15 years advanced from what they are now?
Besides
I'm
China
gonna say...
or some wacko group can simply put a device onto a like a tuna trawler, sail it into Chesapeake Bay, and go bang. And Trump's little Golden Dome ain't going to do crap about it. So there's one reason why you want to have a Navy to watch for people doing crap like that.
Mm-hmm. I'll say I don't think I have the ability to prognosticate missile technology in 15 years. So I think I am skeptical of the ability of this kind of program to be able to reliably intercept ICBMs in 15 years' time, as they are in 15 years. But also, if you had told me 15 years ago that I might be living through the rise of fascism in the United States, I'd say that was crazy. So what the fuck do I know?
Yeah, fair enough. One of the critics...
My thing is...
Oh, go
a
ahead.
lot, actually, Dapper, you do.
Well, my
just
thing is that
watch Dapper's channel,
Okay.
and you'll see how much Dapper knows.
Go ahead,
But he's
Maanyaa.
not a
How to
linguist.
pronounce Arabic
Shut
names.
up! Go ahead, Maanyaa.
He's not a linguist, though.
Can I speak now? Can I speak? Can I speak? Okay, all right. So what I'm just thinking is this whole dome thing is like so stupid. The thing is that Dapper, you know a lot. You know that physically it's not possible. What material are they going to use, and till what height it's gonna go up, right? Till it starts intruding on airspace. Okay, once the dome is built, what about the international flights? What the fuck?
But
People
Maanyaa,
are going.
hold on. The goal of this isn't to construct a physical dome. That's not the idea.
So
It's
what
an
is
air-to-air missile defense system. It's
I'm not-
Aren't they trying to
Maanyaa,
recreate
no.
the windows of heaven? There's the windows of heaven that they're going to put up
Maanyaa,
there.
did you
so
actually think they were going to get gold and build
Windows
a
of Heaven is
physical
going to
dome
create this
around the
physical
United
dome
States?
over North America,
goal?
so that
no.
if they don't open up, we won't have a North American flood. Is that?
Even okay, all right. Okay, I got it wrong. I thought it was a physical dome. My bad. My bad.
You know, a physical
Fine,
dome
I
would
know.
actually probably be more practical.
Yeah, a physical dome would work better.
Even with
Well,
the, like the
okay,
air
in
missile
terms of
system,
reliably
like, don't they
intercepting
have one
missiles,
yet?
sure.
All I can think of is, have you guys ever seen the
Don't they have one
movie?
yet?
Have you guys ever seen the Disney's Atlantis? When like all the
Atlantis.
robots go
Okay,
out
bye.
and clap their hands, and then they make a force field dome around Atlantis.
Bye.
That
I'm
would
done.
be
Bye.
very effective.
Bye.
Hi,
Criti-
Manya's hand.
Critics-
You know what? Maybe this is a big misconception. So
Sure.
the idea behind the Golden Dome is that
Yeah.
the United States military will track incoming ballistic missiles and then launch their own missiles to intercept them in the air, thereby detonating them at a safe distance from the actual surface of basically North America, because there's
Correct,
really no
Dapper.
way to
That's
protect the
what
United
it
States
is.
without also defending most of Mexico and more or less all of Canada. So that's
But
the
they
idea.
also, by the way,
There's no
Dapper, the other
plan
thing
to build a physical dome.
their proposed use is to blow nukes and use X-ray lasers to go and destroy the incoming devices as well. That's another part of
Right.
the dome.
Yeah, but the idea is not a physical shield to protect against incoming missiles. It is to
And
intercept
it will
missile
protect most of
military
them, but
technology.
not low-lying ones, and certainly not things that are brought in on the sea, which is why you want to fund a navy.
So
Well,
there's-
first, I want to say I don't support the Golden Dome, but I will say pointing out that it wouldn't be effective against all possible attacks is not a good reason to not implement a defense system.
Sure, but I will say, critics note that the system has been about 60% effective in tests. However, that statistics include tests going back over 25 years. The tests performed in more recent years have been more successful. Quote, anytime you test a new system, there's going to be failures early on. That's how you learn what works. However, There's a complaint that the tests aren't realistic, but the proponents say that it's not possible to fully recreate realistic conditions. So, they're having a hard time justifying.
Not fair because the people trying to get funding for the military contracts produce tests that show they should be funded more.
Well, if you want to talk about like part of why it's going to be problem, or why it's going to be like funding wise, let's do two things because it's going to be incredibly expensive. First off is if the interceptors are in low Earth orbit, right? The altitude of 2,000 kilometers or less could do it, but those interceptors would be orbiting rather than parked over the countries of interest. Right? So, to be certain of taking down a missile, a large constellations of satellites would be needed, and to protect the United States from Slavos of multiple missiles at once, the number of satellites would have to increase further.
No, but Chesh, in Star Trek, when they park into an orbit, they stick over a spot, so we just have Star Trek orbits.
With the infinite energy machine.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Ensuring protection from just one North Korean ICBM would require more than 1,000 interceptors in orbit. The APS report finds that protection from 10 might demand over 30,000 interceptors. Depending on the missile type and other assumptions for comparison, there is already about 12,000 active satellites in orbit around Earth, and most of them are fucking Elon.
So this is basically a combination of two things, right? The surface to air idea is basically the Iron Dome from Israel, which is their surface to air counter missile system, which, to be fair, is pretty effective at shooting down missiles coming in from places like Gaza. But it's also combined with Ronald Reagan's scrapped Star Wars idea, which is, yes, what he fucking called it, because of course he did, which was to have satellites in orbit that would be able to shoot down missiles. Why did Star Wars fail? Well, first, because neither Disney nor George Lucas know how to make follow-ups to the original trilogy, but more importantly, for this exact reason.
And I understand that also one of the function of Star Wars was to bankrupt the Soviet Union. When Reagan people were deploying it, they knew they would never work. But they put forward that it was, and put forward fake tests to force the Soviet Union to try to reproduce it and further bankrupt itself. It was an economic attack on the Soviet Union.
Right, but one of the reasons it was ineffective as a weapons platform is this fundamental problem. In order to meaningfully respond to airborne threats, you have to be relatively in a relatively low orbit if you're going to do it from orbit. Because otherwise, the travel time for whatever you want to deploy is probably going to be too long for you to effectively intercept whatever it is you're trying to intercept. Or, if you're just going to use lasers, well, lasers have spread and attenuation. It's not going to be effective from, say, like geostationary orbit, which is much, much, much higher. So the only way to get effective coverage is to basically blanket all the middle latitudes of the Earth with a network of satellites, all in separate orbits, all slightly offset from each other. Mm-hmm. And unless you have it very, very tightly controlled, there will be gaps in coverage. And also, the majority of your satellites will spend the majority of their time covering things that are not of interest to you. And on top of that, those are orbits that are low enough that they have a relatively high rate of decay, which means you're going to have to constantly make adjustments and keep boosting these satellites. And every time that there's any kind of interruption, like, they're getting a little low, that's going to change their orbit time. It's going to disrupt the nice, neat pattern that you have. And on top of that, one of the reasons that there's so many Starlink satellites is because they keep coming down, because they're going to run out of fuel.
Yep.
Because you need fuel to keep them in those orbits.
They're low Earth. Orbits. Yeah. Right. On top of that.
So all of this combined is you're not going to get an effective surface-to-surface missile defense with orbital platforms. You're just not going to do it.
I just want to be clear
Do Starlink satellites even have fuel, or are they simply up there until solar wind?
I think they're up there until they deorbit. I think they have a little bit of fuel, and it might actually be for deorbit purposes, so that they can. No, I think they orient.
Okay.
They orient primarily with gyros, if I remember correctly. I think if they have fuel, it's specifically so they can choose where they deorbit. Because if you just have your satellites falling out anywhere, that is a huge liability problem.
You
But
do
that's what
need-
space
you
current
do need
does.
nuclear
I
just
mean,
now, but yes.
that's SpaceX incompetence is just to let things fall where they may.
So,
Um,
Come to
Yeah,
India. India will
maybe.
launch them at lower price and no problems.
so
yes, and by the way, they're aiming towards India. They just hit the ocean instead. That's another.
So one thing I want to point out
fuck
about this
my life.
specifically is that you would need 1,000 interceptors for North Korean ICBMs. This Golden Dome is supposed to protect America from China and Russia. And this is from one North Korean ICBM.
Agreed.
If they were to launch more than one, they would need 30,000 interceptors to be reliable. And that is, again, only North Korea. If you were going to do Russia and China, who have hundreds of ICBMs, like, why? Who's to say this is even going to work?
One
Well,
word,
to be
and,
fair,
not
even
other
the advocates
countries won't
aren't
have
saying it's
problem
going to
with
be
it.
100% effective.
But I'm not talking about
Well, that's
100%
another-
effective. I'm talking about effective at all. The price tag on top of it, which Landon brought up, is bound to be a thorny issue. Already over the past 70 years, the United States has spent more than $400 billion on missile defense, according to the APS report, and the budget bill that is currently working its way through Congress would lay out $25 billion for the Golden Dome in a fiscal year of 2025. And
That is 25 billion as a graft gift to some people to do some studies. Meanwhile, Agent
Yeah.
Orange wants to charge Canada for the
61
living under the
billion.
golden shower dome.
May 5th Congressional Budget Office report suggests that even with the lower launch costs, the space-based effort alone would cost between $161 billion and $542 billion over the course of 20 years. So this dome seems like nonsense. I'm not gonna lie. That's the way it seems to me,
Just
at
a
the very
stunt.
least.
It's
Yeah.
just a stunt. This is just indulging all those people who just blindly voted for Trump. This is an indulgence to those people because those people they like to go this, oh, Trump is gonna do something big and something really, really out of the ordinary. So they can grasp onto this and then like the Space Force, right? The Space Force thing came out. How long did it last?
We're
And
definitely
how
doing
were
something,
the-
guys.
There still is a face
Yeah.
force, and sadly, but Maanyaa, part of the thing is that there are people that contributed to Trump's ego. They are being rewarded with contracts to do golden shower dome explorations. It doesn't matter if it works. It's the fact that Agent Orange is giving payback. And guess
I
what?
figured it out.
SpaceX is there in line to say we can start managing and launching some of these things as an excuse to further allow Space Karen to rip off the U.S. taxpayer.
So
I have an idea.
yeah.
Trump, you can pay me $20 billion and I will create a portal gun that will teleport the incoming ICBMs back at the launch site.
Ooh.
Ooh.
There you go.
Nice.
Now you're thinking with
you
portals.
pay Dapper, and Dapper could use his computer to give you really cool graphics.
That's what he's
Oh,
gonna
that would
say.
be what most of the 20 billion would go towards. Here's how you know. Look, here's how you know something like new tech thing that you might want to invest in is probably a scam. This is a probably. If what they have to show off is a bunch of fancy CGI, and what they don't have to show off is a working prototype, chances are that's a scam. Because here's the thing. I can make a fancy CGI animation of fucking anything I want. It doesn't matter if it's real. It doesn't matter if it's possible. I am currently making a CGI map of an orc outpost for Maddie for one of her games. You know how many orcs I've met in real life? Not a fucking one. Doesn't matter. I can still put them in my computer.
At Dapper's notion, Dapper's going to talk about the fact that if you don't have anything, use graphics. That's actually quite a thing because I've been participating in a particular government program where they explicitly said no graphics because it's serious. They want people to take it seriously. I'm not kidding.
Yeah, no,
There's
they're
a
right.
lot
It's
of
funny because it's
wisdom
true.
that what Dapper just said. Pay
Yeah.
attention. Sometimes
All
a
right.
dinosaur has
There have
words
been
of wisdom.
so
Interface
many
also takes
Kickstarter
up a lot of
scams.
processing power, so yeah, like
India,
Good for India.
India explores partners beyond United States to build fighter jet engines, report. So hey, remember when I said that the industrial military complex of America is absolutely fucking cooked? Yeah.
Oh no!
India
Might
is
be one of the few
actively
good things that comes out of this.
India is actively engaging with defense manufacturers from the United Kingdom, France, and Japan to co-develop fighter jet engines, aiming to bolster its defense capabilities amid escalating regional tensions. This move, seeking to diversify partnership beyond the United States and address critical capability gaps, comes weeks after Pakistan shot down at least 5 Iranian Air Force IAF jets in an aerial combat that involved more than 100 aircraft from both sides and lasted for hours. The incident has prompted global militaries to study the confrontation, highlighting the evolving nature of aerial combat in the region. India's Defense Research and Development Organization, DRDO, will evaluate proposals from the 3 countries with an emphasis on technology transfer and intellectual property sharing. Quite frankly, the intellectual property sharing is really, really smart, but this is exactly, remember when I said Canada was joining in? Canada will likely be part of this.
Seems
Nice.
reasonable.
Nice.
Look,
See,
here's the thing. Oh, sorry.
You're bringing India to the table now by attacking whatever Russia has. So here
Yep.
you go.
Yep.
You know.
Yep.
So I will say that the military-industrial complex of the United States has been one of the biggest drivers of the slaughter of innocent people worldwide that has ever existed. Right? It's not quite as bad as, say, like Maoist China or the Soviet Union under Stalin or Pol Pot. Well, in terms of raw numbers, it's worse than Pol Pot. In terms of proportionality, no, it's not as bad as Pol Pot. Yeah. So, while I do think that, generally speaking, the Trump regime will be remembered as one of the
lay joke.
One of the more it would be a joke if it weren't going to kill so many people. But generally remembered as one of the worst things to happen in American history, short maybe of the Civil War. I will say, if it manages to take down the military-industrial complex, that is not something I will ever complain about. If Trump's incompetence manages to actually long-term ruin the ability of the military-industrial complex of the United States to foment wars so that they can sell more weapons, that will be a good thing for world peace.
This is something that I've noticed has been going on with America in particular, is that Donald Trump in particular, is fucking up everything so fucking badly that he's accidentally causing, by proxy, all of the good things. So people are diversifying. The dollar is probably not going to be it's probably going to collapse, realistically. The dollar is probably toasted. It's going to be really bad for the people in America, but that's going to be up to the people in America to decide how bad it gets and what ends up happening. But it's probably not going to be. What's likely going to happen, this is what I suspect when it comes to international currency, is you're probably going to see something along the lines of nobody's going to want to agree to anybody's particular currency as a global currency anymore. And what's probably going to happen is that during any trade negotiations, what currency is used is going to be part of, for which products and which industry, is likely going to just be part of that negotiation. That's what I expect is going to happen.
I'm not going to cry for the fall of American hegemony. It has not gone well for basically anyone who is an American, and even for the Americans, it often hasn't gone well because it's also involved a lot of fucking dead soldiers. It was Memorial Day in the U.S. not that long ago. If you want to honor the dead soldiers of America, here's my number one suggestion for you as a veteran. Don't fucking make more of them.
Yeah. Fair and reasonable. So, next up, just because I'm trying to get through some of this a little bit, we have Bangladesh Navy eyes South Korea improved Jang Bogo class Marines, but I don't think that's pronounced Jang. I think it's Zhang, but what do I know? So, like I said, we have other countries militarizing away from the United States. So Bangladesh is negotiating with South Korea to produce 6 improved submarines under a $200 billion program. The submarines will be stationed at BNS Papua, a new $1.29 billion underwater base. Bangladesh Navy will employ South Korea-developed weapons, including the Boksong the White Shark, supposedly, heavyweight torpedo. This acquisition will significantly enhance deterrence against India and Myanmar. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that correctly. In the Bay. And Bangladesh has the option to locally assemble key components and torpedoes under a joint venture. Indonesia's successful acquisition and operation of similar submarines validate the platform's reliability, and the project supports Bangladesh's blue economy and EEZ protection policy with strategic synergies alongside the Korean naval platforms under consideration. So, again, these are a little bit long, so if you want to read through these fully, again, all of them are linked in the description down below, as well as in the on the posts tab. You can go and find them there as well. If you follow Debate Hub on Blue Sky, I have linked all of everything we've talked about, so you can go and take a look at it further. But again, we're seeing all these like hundreds of billions of dollars that would have been allocated to the United States evaporating and just going to other places. Yep. Last one, we also have an EU Commission in a hurry on supercomputing quantum strategy. So, European Commission is planning to present a strategy on quantum earlier than expected on July 2nd this year in a bid to boost uptake of technology considered capable of leading to breakthroughs in medicine and finance. The Commission began consulting on a plan early last month and originally intended to launch the strategy in the third quarter of this year. So it's a little bit earlier. The proposal will aim to reinforce Europe's tech sovereignty and economic security in quantum technologies, including computing and communication. It is expected to call for member state cooperation to fully implement the European Declaration on Quantum Technologies, which was signed last spring. Landon, take us away. This is such a you topic.
Quantum computing is a very important area of research. Quantum computing capability is pathetic. For example, quantum computers' record factorization. These things are supposed to break all cryptography and make the world a better place. Best thing they can do now is to factor a number that I can do in my own head. Take a little time, but that's how advanced the quantum computing is now. Not to say that it's a bad area. It's a useless area. It's a very interesting area of research, and we should put a lot of effort into it. The problem is that entities like Google or D-Wave come out with these press releases to try to claim quantum supremacy. Guess what? They've claimed it several times. Even Microsoft has tried to do this, or IBM. And guess what? Quantum computers still remain supreme. And not only supreme, but supreme by many orders of magnitude. This is to say we shouldn't do research in quantum computing, because I think it's an interesting area. We should do things like that. But the notion that quantum computing is going to do anything other than amuse us right now is... And by the way, one of the things that you should be concerned about is people pushing so-called post-quantum cryptography. Right? This notion we've got to change cryptography because quantum computing is coming down and it's going to break open and destroy all of the security behind computing. No. The thing you should fear on is not breaking the math, like quantum computing somehow can destroy the ability of cryptography to operate. You should worry about rubber hose cryptography. What's rubber hose cryptography? It's where you take a rubber hose and you beat the hell out of somebody until they give you the key.
Right.
By the way, that's a real technical term. I didn't make that up. Yeah. And it's usually people that are the weak link in cryptography. Rarely is it the mathematics.
Right.
That being said, I support and have supported funding of quantum computing. It's a very interesting set. I believe that commercial fusion and DeLorean, cars and other things will come first before quantum computing can do better than what I can do in my brain.
It sounds to me like you're saying you support the funding of this, but be cautious for anybody selling you anything.
Especially right now, and it is, and be wary of people saying we have to change cryptography to have post-quantum computing, because what they're going to drag you into is a set of cryptography that's not well tested. Do not accept anyone that says, I got a new magic crypto that's going to be the best thing. Because understand, the best that quantum computing can do, Grover's algorithm, just shortens the thing by the square root. So a 256-bit key becomes 128-bit strength if quantum computing is able to do it effectively. That's the best that quantum computing can do. And so the danger is they are con people into changing cryptography.
Yeah.
Remember, the IETF, I'm going to piss a lot of people, IETF has a long history of cryptographic incompetence. IETF has put forward and has standardized system after system after system that proved to be incompetent. Don't trust this post-quantum computing. Don't trust their, on the other hand, fund the research because it's important and will eventually lead to some interesting applications.
So Landon, are you saying that quantum computing is to computing as fusion power is to electrical power generation?
I would say it's closer to cold fusion as envisioned by
Oh, that's
Palmer.
even worse. I mean, wow.
And the thing, if Google comes out and says yet another quantum supremacy or
Maybe just
D-Wave,
ignore Google.
you can probably bet
can't, they pay
that
my bills.
Elon Musk's prediction will be more reliable.
Oh, all right. Next up, this is we're into local news now. This is sorry, I shouldn't say local. It's regional. So this is just stuff that's going on in regions. Some good, some bad.
That's literally everything that happens in the world.
Yeah, but it's not like military. It's not conflict. It's just stuff that's happening. It's not like specific, and it's not like super depressing, probably. King Charles expresses love for strong and free Canada. Yeah, so the king visited, and I would like to point out that had the king been invited to visit last year, everybody would have been like, why the fuck is the king here? This time, everybody's like, oh yay, the king is here. Basically, Canada and its people in general have been kind of long side-eyeing the UK, particularly after Starmer went and showed up at the White House after the Zelensky debacle and was sort of capitulating to Trump a little bit and handed him a letter that he obviously was incapable of reading. That was the king inviting him back to talk to him for a second visit, which is like nobody has ever done before. Is that like nobody's gotten a second visit with a crown? And so Canada was like, they're threatening to annex us. Are you about to fucking side with America right now? Because, brother, are you serious? Like, we were not too keen on that one. So the king showed up to sort of ease those tensions a little bit and clearly spit in Trump's face a little bit, as well as show kind of like it's a matter of show of solidarity. It doesn't really mean anything outside that, though.
I believe I'm the only one in this panel who's had the privilege of saying the word fuck within a few inches of that big ear's face.
Really?
And I'm proud of it.
Damn.
Yes, I have cussed that particular person to his face. Why? Because I was on the far end of the pier waiting for the momentary shot in Sydney at the harbor, looking over the humping of armadillos. That's called the Opera House. And this idiot comes right in front of my camera. I have a 700 millimeter telephoto lens, thinking I'm there to take a picture of him, stands there, ruins the shot, and I go up and say, fuck, and realize it's him. And I gesture saying, get out of the way, because if he had got out of the way, I might have gotten the shot, but no, that idiot there.
You didn't have a video of that? Come on!
And I have had more drinks in bars in Scotland saying, this is the dude that swore in his face.
I would like to see.
But
tell me you developed the picture with him in it and just wrote the word fuck on it.
He's so bereft of a historical thing to understand that he represents a institution that is just
outdated.
Ridiculous, right? The opportunity to be appointed by God to rule and being proud of people like Henry VIII and other wackos and this stuff.
Henry VIII.
If he had any decency, he'd resign as monarch, saying, "This is a stupid institution. Let's stop doing this."
Yeah.
But
he's also like
the
old.
thing is that he is known to that's I can believe what Landon has said, because he's known to be very, very self-absorbed. That everybody around him is there for him. That's it. He's so self-absorbed. He is.
Well, so to be clear, he was there to try to ease tensions between the UK and the Canadian to the Canadian people. Most Canadians are indifferent to the crown. Like, we don't particularly care. We think it's goofy for the most part. You're gonna find a handful of Canadians who follow the royal family and are into it, but they're into it the same way like the true crime people are into murder. You know what I mean? It's drama, right? Like, that's the sort of what they're into. Yeah. There's not a whole ton of reverence. Most people don't really care. But it was a matter of, like, just showing solidarity. It's an interesting political move because, and people have applauded Carney for it, because Trump's really into the whole king thing, and having an actual king show up and, like, kind of compare America to what happened in World War II was a little bit of a slap in the face.
And moreover, the White House put out requests to the Murdoch media to not cover the King's speech because they said it was going to be disrespectful to making America great again.
Yeah, well, too bad. Thailand is apparently going to shut its border with Cambodia amid boycott tensions. Thailand is set to close 6 border checkpoints and 10 temporary crossings with Cambodia, including I don't know how to pronounce any of those things. Amid Cambodia. Go on.
Ah, you go on. Sorry, my bad.
Amid Cambodian nationalist backlash and boycott calls. Report from security agencies on Saturday, May 31st, 2025, stated that after a clash between Thai and Cambodian troops near Chombok, I don't know, province on May 28th resulted in the deaths of a Cambodian soldier
Why don't you ask Dapper, who's not a linguist, to pronounce it for you?
Dapper doesn't speak Khmer or Thai, so, like, I don't know.
None of us know how to pronounce half these things. I'm doing my best. In response to a wave,
I can speak any Southeast Asian language.
In response to a wave of national. In response to a wave of national.
Are we interrupting you, by the way, Jess?
Wait, does Korean count at all? No,
you guys aren't leaving until we're done. We're gonna be here forever. I will hold you hostage. In response to a wave of nationalist sentiment erupted on Cambodian social media with widespread calls to boycott all Thai products as a form of retaliation. Thai security officials expressed concern over the safety of local communities along the border, especially those engaged in cross-border trade. As a result of the incident, an emergency meeting was called to announce the closure of all border checkpoints along the Thai-Cambodian border, which included these places. So, that's what's going on.
That sucks.
Yeah, so it looks like there's a little bit of tension going on and a little bit of, boycott's gonna boycott, you know what I mean?
Yeah. It's true.
Next up, we have 17 EU countries sound the alarm over Hungarian LGBTQ laws. Hungarian's parliament passed legislation in March that creates a legal basis to ban pride marches and lets police use facial recognition cameras to identify people who attend. 17 European Union countries accused Hungary on Tuesday of contravening fundamental EU values by passing laws that target LGBTQ people as tensions deepen between Budapest and a majority of member states. Hungary's parliament passed legislation in March that creates a legal basis to ban pride marches there and lets police use facial recognition cameras to identify people who attend. It also approved constitutional changes in April, stipulating that Hungary recognizes only 2 sexes, male and female. Quote, we are highly alarmed by these developments, which run contrary to the fundamental values of human dignity, freedom, equality, and respect for human rights, the governments of the 17 countries said in a joint statement. I would like to point out, since Macron was talking about hypocrisy earlier, is there a reason why we're not calling America out on this?
Yeah.
But, Hungary has been basically a authoritarian dictatorship progressing for some time. It's too bad they can't be kicked out of of EU and join their sycophants in Belarus.
Yeah, the statement was backed by Austria, Belgium, the Czech Republic, Denmark, Estonia, Finland, France, Germany, Ireland, Latvia, Lithuania, Luxembourg, the Netherlands, Portugal, Slovenia, Spain, and Sweden. Go ahead, Dapper.
So there's a couple things. One is the reason that this is probably not being done so much to the United States is primarily that, well, the United States isn't in the European Union, right?
Yes.
Like, if like, I don't know, like Colorado started doing some like ridiculous shit, I wouldn't expect France or Belgium to really talk about it that much, but I might expect that maybe the governors of like California and like Oregon or something might speak out. But the other thing is, this is one of the things, right? So the European Union was basically established under the idea that the members were going to be and remain liberal democracies,
right,
for the most part, generally. But what happens when one of those liberal democracies starts turning into a right-wing dictatorship? And the answer is that no one knows, but it's happening anyway.
That's what we're navigating now.
So,
yeah.
Right, we're navigating it now in more than one place. But with the EU, it's a particularly complex thing because
Germany,
there isn't a great mechanism to just kick them out.
Right.
And I suppose they could vote themselves out, but why would they do that? They're getting, like, so what are you going to do? Are you going to place trade embargoes? Well, you basically can't, right? Because the whole point of the EU is that you basically can't do that.
Right.
Are you going to restrict them from traveling? Again, you can't. So what do you do? And I don't know that there's a good answer for that. And I think it might be something that the EU needs to look at as for terms of like fundamental reforms as to what member states of the EU are allowed to do vis-a-vis other ones. And I don't know how you do that without, say, ruining the whole idea of a free travel and free trade zone.
Yeah, I feel like you would have to do something along the lines of you would have to be a democracy, but then you'd have to like walk this line of defining a democracy and having some kind of legal process of being like, are you a democracy? Yes, no. There is something to be said about maybe fundamental human rights that you could utilize to help with that, but I'm not 100% sure, to be honest. It's complicated.
Yeah. Unfortunately, one of the other things is people don't all agree on what counts as fundamental human rights, right? Like, there's a reason that the Universal Declaration of Human Rights from the EU has not been signed by every country, and that there are a number of countries that have their own alternative list of fundamental human rights. Like, that's a thing that's true about the world, right? We don't all agree on what the fundamental human rights are.
Yep.
And obviously, this is a case where most of Europe has one set of ideas about what fundamental human rights are, but Orban has a very different list of what fundamental human rights are.
Right. It's interesting.
Yeah, his drug rights are basically the rights of Hungarians to make more Hungarian babies and to have non-Hungarians not make babies in Hungary.
When you have a fascist right-wing extremist, human rights don't really mean anything. It's just whatever they want you to do at the time, and it's arbitrary. Diego Maradona's homicide trial is declared invalid after judge filming scandal. So for anybody who follows FIFA, the homicide trial of Diego's medical team for alleged malpractice was declared a mistrial by an Argentinian court on Thursday. The decision follows the removal of one of the 3 judges overseeing the case by an Argentine court. One of the trial's defendants had requested the disqualification of a judge, Julieta, last name, due to a possible lack of impartiality for allegedly authorizing the filming of a documentary during court hearings. They accepted the court. Yeah, the judge accepted the court's disqualification, but defended her conduct. Quote, "My impartiality is not at stake. There is no suspicion of a lack of neutrality because there is nothing that could imply that," end quote, she said, or they said, sorry, on Tuesday prior to being removed. The ousted judge...
My guess is that someone with the name Julieta probably uses feminine pronouns.
Maybe, but I don't know. The ousted judge is accused of authorizing a camera crew to film the hearings, which breached judicial rules. She claims she only gave an interview and has denied any wrongdoing. A fresh trial will be held with a new panel of judges, but it remains unclear when the new trial will be. So for anybody who's been
Yeah.
following this story, I mean, I think that's interesting.
Well, mistrials always suck, and they're almost
Yeah.
always good for the defense. The reason that is because even though you can refile charges and start a new trial, basically, the longer away from whatever the alleged crime is the trial takes place, the better for the defense, because witnesses might
It's easier to
withdraw their
minimize.
consent to testify or just die. Like, physical evidence will degrade. People will start to forget what happened. I don't know what Landon just said. But yeah, so generally speaking, mistrials are usually better for the defense than they are for the prosecution. So if you are like team defense on this one, you should probably take this as a W. And if you are on team prosecution for this one, this is probably a disappointment. But then again, just because it's usually better for the defense, it doesn't mean that you can't secure a conviction after a mistrial has been declared and you start it over again.
And a restart, or I should say, it is usually because the entities can either dissuade people from testifying or threaten them to not be so aggressive in their testimony.
There you go.
Yeah, all right. So moving on. Ban on child marriage is deemed un-Islamic by Pakistan's religious leaders. A new law banning child marriage in Pakistan has been criticized by a prominent council for being un-Islamic. Pakistan's government last week passed the Child Marriage Restraint Bill, which aims to put an end to minors being forced into marriages and cohabitation with adults. The legislation is set to be signed into effect by President Asif Ali Zardari. Will see adults found to be cohabitating with minors punished by up to 7 years in a prison and a fine of 1 million rupees, or 2,663 pounds, on charges of statutory rape. It is set to roll out in Pakistan, in the Pakistani capital of Islamabad. I don't know if I'm pronouncing anything correctly. With hopes that other parts of the country will introduce the law in short order. But Pakistan's Council of Islamic Ideology, a prominent body that advises the government of the Muslim majority nation, quote, whether or not a certain law is repugnant to Islam, has opposed the bill. The council said in a statement published Tuesday, quote, declaring marriage below the age of 18 as child abuse and prescribing punishments for it and other controversial provisions are not in line with Islamic injunctions. So if you are somebody, for example, who is an activist online who does talk about these things, you may want to take a look at the Council of Islamic Ideology admitting that it is part of Islamic provisions to allow this.
Is it possible that they're referring to a historical situation of a certain somebody marrying somebody young?
Yeah, no, I know exactly what it is. This is directly taken out of Sahih al-Bukhari, which is one of the, by Sunni Muslims, considered to be one of the more authoritative of the hadith collections. Hadiths are sayings about the life and sayings of the Prophet Muhammad. And so this one, so there's a couple of different reference systems used for Sahih al-Bukhari. One is just it orders the ahadith just one after the other. The other one has like books, then followed by numbering the hadiths in them. So in the first one, this is 5158. In the second system, this is book 67, hadith 93. And then there's also a third one if you want, which is volume 7, book 62, hadith 88. Unfortunately, there isn't a unified reference system like there is for, say, like the Bible. But anyway, the actual hadith reads in English, the Prophet wrote the marriage contract with Aisha while she was 6 years old and consummated his marriage with her while she was 9 years old, and she remained with him for 9 years, i.e. until his death. That is why the Quran calls Muhammad, in one of the few places where it ever actually talks about Muhammad, because it almost never does, but in one of the few places where it does, it says that he is a standard of behavior for the faithful. Which means if you are someone who is going to be very literal about the Quran and theologically conservative in Islam, if Muhammad did it, then it's not just good, it's probably praiseworthy. And Muhammad raped a 9-year-old. And no, I'm not going to sugarcoat that.
Yeah.
I've had people get angry with me about saying, well, he married and consummated. No, that's rape. I don't care what contracts there were. She was 9. If you're a 50-something-year-old man and you have sex with a 9-year-old, you raped a 9-year-old. That's why this is happening.
So I do want to point out, it is clear though that the Pakistan has put in a law that is banning that. Like their law that they're putting forward is getting rid of that. They are trying to move forward, but the specific,
it's the council that's objecting.
Yeah, the Islamic Ideology Council is the one getting in the way.
And as far as I know, they don't actually have any legal authority. They are just an advisory council.
Yes.
So
they may very well be.
They're saying this isn't okay. Yeah, is now the other thing is though that what they say will have an effect on the behaviors of individual Pakistanis.
Yes. I'm just gonna go ahead and show on screen. This is the council. This is them working on it. So I just thought I'd make sure that you guys knew what a bunch of these pedophiles look like.
Yeah, and remember how many women
or pedophile apologists.
I don't actually make a strong distinction there.
They're certainly allowing it or encouraging it.
It's one of those. It's one of those things like, okay, if you didn't pull the trigger, but you gave aid and comfort to the murderer, you're guilty of something pretty bad. Technically, it might not be the murder, but like,
yeah.
So,
if you're a Nazi and you happen to put people in an oven, you're still a Nazi.
Yeah.
I will say that from my perspective, this is a very good step from Pakistan, to try and, come out of this place where religion has dictated a lot of stuff in Pakistan, right? This is a good effort to come out of that and really, really make people realize that, the religion shouldn't dictate your life. You should be able to, do what you want in your life. Which is commendable.
Consider it to become religious free, right? Because religion is the perpetrators of some of the worst things in history. Try not engaging religion. You might find it to be pretty nice.
Yeah. The thing is that religious ideology, the religion is part of like Pakistan's constitution. So that's why these councils have a lot of influence in what goes in the law or what stays in the law. Now it's up to the Pakistani people whether they want this to stay as a law or they will defy it, because there will be defiance. It happens in India also. Child marriages happen in India also, still happen. They are punishable, obviously, under law. Under law, they're criminal. But the main thing is that the Constitution of India has accepted it. The governments have accepted it. The local governments have accepted it. The state governments have accepted it and said, this is wrong, this is criminal, right? So that's what now the challenge is. How will the local governments or the local councils that do the governance, who are elected by people, are going to do this? Are they going to accept it and criminalize it, or are they going to let under the table stuff happen? So that's very important. It will take some time and a lot of conviction to make this, really, really drive home. But it's a commendable step, and I get it why that council is vehemently pushing it back, because they see control going out of their hands and back into the people's hands, and obviously they are a bunch of morons who would never want that. So yeah.
And Dapper, do you want to talk more about your you see both? Can you elaborate that?
I think so. Obviously, there are people in Pakistan who do not accept that raping children under the guise of marriage is acceptable, right? Otherwise, this would never have passed, right? Because no one would have elected the type of people who would pass that kind of legislation. However, obviously, there are also people who don't. And so I think that for a very long time, if this law stays on the books, which I don't know if it will, but if it does, for a very long time, you are going to have people who are defying it in secret. Just like, hey, did you know that in Libya, slavery is outlawed despite having open-air slave markets that are public? That's just a thing, right? It's not okay, it's not good, but that's how it works. And the same thing happens all over the place for all sorts of laws, right? Like, how long has it been illegal in most of the West to, say, consume cocaine for recreational purposes without a prescription for decades, probably close to a century at this point. I'm sorry, do you think people aren't doing cocaine?
Right.
They absolutely are. So yeah, it's going to be a bit of both.
Yeah. Okay, so one other piece of news for Pakistan is the World Bank is investing $40 billion. According to the documents, the Ministry of Economic Affairs has begun developing a comprehensive implementation framework to support the initiative, which aligns with the government's priorities and the National Economic Transformation Plan. For the first time, the World Bank has adopted a 10-year framework instead of its usual 5-year strategy, signaling a long-term commitment to Pakistan's development. So I, for one, think this is a good thing, particularly if we want to get Pakistan away from Russia. Because if Pakistan is...
I don't think it's a good thing.
...relying on Russia, because Russia is the only one supporting them, giving them more options might be in their best interest. The first phase, Pakistan will receive $20 billion in sovereign loans from the World Bank's International Development Association, the IDA, and International Bank of Reconstruction and Development. These funds will be allocated to 2 critical sectors, including education, health, climate mitigation, clean energy, and air quality improvement. Additionally, the framework includes plans to boost private sector investment and sustainable development projects. Go ahead, Maanyaa.
So my question is, number one, how are they going to ensure that this money doesn't go into funneling the military, which in turn might funnel terrorism acts in other countries, for example, their neighbors, India? That's my question. Number two, previously a lot of funds have been allocated to Pakistan. Where have they merged as? Have we seen any emergence or any results of those investments, right? So my thing is, like, that's a big amount to invest in a country which has a track record of somehow losing that money, and that money ending up in funneling terrorism. So that's what my question is. How are they going to ensure that? Because
that's a fair.
Yeah. I would also ask, how do you differentiate between the Pakistan military and the government and the power behind the government?
Exactly.
I mean, exactly. You can't. They're 2 sides of the same coin.
Yeah.
Yes. So
we do know that things like humanitarian aid and aid projects do tend to lead to more independence and kind of starve off China and Russia influencing countries. But if that country already has war and terrorism that it wants to do, then yeah, you absolutely need to ensure that those what promises, what assurances are you getting to make sure.
How
that
many times
happen.
in the past has America invested in Pakistan?
I don't know.
Pakistan and Pakistan has still ended up with China and Russia to ask for their money and for their assistance and to aid.
Yeah.
Right?
Because Pakistan pretended to be anti-Russian, anti-communist. They pretended that way, and they duped America into supporting them.
They had
said,
Osama bin
India
Laden
is pro, blah, blah, blah. Yeah.
But
remember,
Osama bin Laden.
The guy named Khan was the guy that sold the secrets to Libya, nuclear secrets to Libya, to North Korea, to Iran, and to Iraq, right?
Exactly.
He is a person. He is praised amongst Pakistan leaders as a national hero, even though he's under quote house arrest. And he is probably the person you can, and unfortunately in the future, lay millions of deaths to, because it's very likely that the next nuclear exchange will be a direct result of Khan from Pakistan. And Pakistan treats them as a national hero.
Next up, we've got congratulations to Greece, which now has a lower unemployment rate than Sweden, Estonia, Finland, and Spain. Some good news.
Wow.
Labor and National Security Minister on Friday said that Greece has a lower unemployment rate than Sweden, Estonia, Finland, Spain, following the new reduction of employment to 8.3% in April of 2025.
But be careful of.
Oh yeah, why can't we have good
news? Because Russia claims a low unemployment rate. The reason why is that most of their people are employed either on the front lines being killed or being involved in the military machine. And so they can't have enough people to actually fund their normal societal sets. So you need to look at the larger numbers than simply Greece has fewer people employed.
Labor
Do
and
they
Social
have
Security.
the jobs to
Well,
manage that? That's the other
let's look then. Quote, our collective efforts are yielding results. We are actively continuing policies that boost employment, reduce unemployment, and encourage the return of Greeks from abroad. Our next initiative is tomorrow, Saturday, a career day, with over 1,000 job opportunities offered in Greece. So looks like they are in fact increasing job opportunities, and that's what's justifying their number. Specifically in a post on social media, noted a further significant drop in unemployment from 10.8% in April of 2024 to 8.3% in April of 2025. According to the Hellenic Statistical Authority, or the ELSTAT. So if you want to go ahead and pull that up and look at the stats and let us know, go for it. But Hong Kong pro-democracy and gay rights activist Jimmy Sham released after 4 years in prison. Hooray! Hong Kong prominent pro-democracy and LGBTQ plus activist Jimmy Sham was released from prison on Friday after serving over 4 years in the city's biggest national security case under Beijing's imposed law. Sham's activism made headlines during the 2019 anti-government protests when he was the convener of a now disbanded pro-democracy group that organized some of the biggest peaceful marches that year, including one that drew an estimated 2 million people. He was among 47 activists arrested in 2001 for their roles in an unofficial party election. He was sentenced to with 44 other activists last year after judges ruled that their plans to effect change through the primary would have undermined the government's authority and create constitutional crisis. Only 2 of the original defendants were acquitted. Even behind bars, he continued to fight for recognition of his same-sex marriage, registered overseas at the city's top court, which later ruled that the government should provide a framework for recognizing same-sex partners. So that's movement. It was a landmark decision for the city's LGBTQ plus community. So that is actually Hong Kong having a court rule that the government should provide a framework for recognizing same-sex partnership. That is an incredible piece of legislation and movement from Hong Kong. I'm wondering if China trying to take advantage of America's situation and trying to sort of take America's place and fill that vacuum is going to force Hong Kong and parts of China to be more progressive. Or at least appear to be more progressive.
I would say as long as the action does not undermine the dictatorial authority of the Chinese Communist Party and undermine civil control, they'll allow it to happen.
Yeah. I mean, China changing from being communist is going and making major changes is going to take a lot of time. Being influenced by wanting to get along with the rest of the world, even if it is for gaining more power globally, giving up some of the stranglehold that it has on its people is maybe a reasonable trade-off for them.
Maybe. I hope so. But I think that before that happens, it's just going to get worse in Hong Kong.
But things always get worse before they get better in those kinds of cases. Brazil. We got 2 things for Brazil. Brazil's economy, early 2025, surge boosts full year forecast. So Brazil, GDP grows 1.4% from quarter 1 from quarter 4, as expected. Growth inflation robust despite interest rate hikes, and economists are starting to raise the 2025 growth forecasts. So it looks like Brazil got a little bit of a boom, and it's I would be cautious about this only because of what America is doing. That boom might not continue that path, but might be a little bit spiky.
Unless
but
they adjust their
what's the news agency that's reporting this?
Reuters.
Oh, right, Reuters. I forgot.
As well as Brazil declared free of foot and mouth disease without vaccinations.
Oh wow!
Congratulations! A world organization. The World Organization of Animal Health has recognized Brazil, the world's largest leading beef exporter, as a country free of foot and mouth disease without vaccination. A Brazilian official and a spokesperson for the intergovernmental body said. Brazilian lobbyists representing some of the largest Brazilian meat packers, including JBS, Minerva, and Marfrig, said the development was historic as it can help Brazil win new markets. Quote, the new status will be announced on June 6th at a formal ceremony after meeting with the president and WOAH Director General. Brazil's chief veterinary officer told Reuters on the last day of the WOAH conference in Paris. Congratulations.
So just to be clear, there's Reuters, the people that screw people, and there's Reuters, the news agency.
Yeah. So yeah, congratulations to Brazil.
This is really good news, and this will definitely open up more markets for them where they can export their meat if they're able to maintain this. So that means their border standards for incoming flights, like incoming people and what they bring on their flights, should also go up the standards, like what kind of meat you bring in and all those checks and stuff, if they want to maintain this. So yeah, best of luck to Brazil for that. Yeah. Nice.
Argentina launching new alternative to who? The top.
US... Oh yeah, right. Definitely, of course.
What?
Of course. Yeah, that's like the US and Argentina. Like, of course they are.
World Health Organization, is that being promoted by the guy with the brain worm in his brain?
The brain worm?
In his brain?
The top
no,
health.
He's anti-promoting it.
The top health authorities. The top health authorities of the United States and Argentina are launching what they call an alternative international health system, separate from the World Health Organization. On the first day of his second term, President Trump signed an executive order starting a year-long process of withdrawing the United States from WHO. In February, Argentinian president followed suit. In a joint statement on Tuesday, Health and Human Services Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr., Robert F. Kennedy Jr.'s brainworm, and Argentinian Minister of Health Mario, who definitely doesn't have a brainworm, remarked on the decision to withdraw from the Global Health Authority. Quote, the WHO's handling of the COVID-19 pandemic revealed serious structural and operational shortcomings that undermined global trust and highlighted the urgent need for independent, science-based leadership in global health, their statement read. Yeah, that sounds like something Robert F. Kennedy Jr. would say. Quote, there are well-documented concerns regarding the early management of the pandemic and the risks associated with certain types of research. Rather than ensuring timely transparency, the WHO failed to provide critical access to information, impairing countries' ability to act swiftly and effectively with devastating global consequences. I would like to let you know, if you look at this and are watching this in the future, I will note that there is likely a information about COVID now tagged at the bottom of this video.
Well, that's all right. We said rape too many times, so this video is probably going to get taken down.
Yeah, that's fine. Whatever.
Wow.
I'm already getting attacked by this.
Now.
My other
Mr.
channel's already getting
Brainworm
boned
and
over
Mr.
by some other group.
Chainsaw are your authorities to go and do your alternative science. Wow.
Yahoo! Lebanese PM says days of spreading the Iranian Revolution are over. Lebanese Prime Minister asserted that his government would not be cooperating.
Are you going to try?
No, I am not even going to try. You can't make me, all right?
It's not even a hard one. It's Nawaf Salam. It's easy.
Nawaf Salam asserted that his government would not be... I can usually copy it if somebody says it out loud first. Asserted that his government would not be cooperating closely with Iran in a Monday interview with Sky News Arabia. Quote, the days of spreading the Iranian Revolution are over. We will not remain silent about weapons in Lebanon that are outside the control of the government. He also said that Lebanon would only consider peace with Israel if it was, quote, real peace. Quote, we are a peace-seeking nation, but we want real peace. Israel is occupying territories that belong to our country.
In case anyone was wondering, that's called the Golan Heights.
Yeah. Smoke arises from Israeli airstrike in southern Lebanon, as it is seen from the Israeli side of the border on May 25th, 2025. So it looks like Lebanon is pretty done. And
I don't blame him.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, fair. But it seems like Israel is really just making enemies of everybody at this point.
Except the United States.
Except the United States. But I'm going to give us a quick break, drink refill, as we are currently now looking at 2 chairs. So we will be back momentarily, you bunch of weenies. We're almost done. We are almost done.
What if we just push through then?
We are going to push through, but I'm going to let these 2 come back. I'm a nice guy. I'm too nice to you guys. All right, we'll be right back.
You're nice.
Yeah, alrighty. Welcome back, everybody. Hoy, hoy, hoy. Are you all ready?
Samosa, why are you
Look at 'em.
teasing me?
They make extraordinarily fine samosas and are just like, yum, 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 yum. These are good stuff. If you ever find people that knows how to do this thing, this is, I mean, look
You're a
at
keeper.
good stuff. Good stuff.
Give.
If it makes any of you guys feel better, I cut stories. Like, I didn't pull up everything.
I know.
Jesus.
Yeah, I know.
And by the way, Shesh, thank you for producing the show. I think it's
Oh.
done very well.
Thanks.
Yeah.
I hope we got enough not just directly everything's about America news this time. This is disasters, so look out for these ones. These are a little bit depressing, but you know, climate change and shit. Earthquake of magnitude 6.1 hits Hokkaido. That one I do know. Hokkaido in Japan, no tsunami warning. Earthquake of magnitude 6.1 hit Hokkaido in Japan on Saturday afternoon, the country's meteorological agency said, adding that it hit at a depth of 20 kilometers, which is 12 miles. The epicenter of the earthquake was off the east coast, the agency said, adding that no tsunami warning has been issued and there were no immediate reports of damage. So, nice.
Yay.
You don't
Generally, you
have
need to
Hokkaido.
have a vertical displacement to generate a tsunami. This was a horizontal, lateral motion.
Yes.
By the way, Chesh, after this one, you owe me like 2 Klingon lesson streams.
What? Why? That sounds like nonsense.
We're gonna finish Jonah.
That's very mean. At least 150 killed as deadly flood hits Nigeria town. Authorities in Nigeria, northern Niger state say that at least 150 people have been killed after floods triggered by heavy rainfall. A vibrant market town in the largely agricultural state. A spokesperson for the State Emergency Management Agency told CNN that 151 bodies, including those of many children, have been recovered as of 9 a.m., which is 4 a.m. ET on Saturday. More than 3,000 other people have been displaced, adding that the death toll could rise as rescuers search for more bodies. CNN 26 told CNN he lost 9 family members, including his aged mother, as well as 2 nieces and nephews aged between 4 and 8 years when floods submerged their home. This is the location.
So full disclosure, you know, I've been to Nigeria. That's not northern Nigeria. I've been to Abuja, and it's basically to the. I haven't been there.
Yeah.
But I've been to the Abuja spot there.
Stop with the substandard fucking reporting.
Yeah, that's
Look
not
at a
northern Nigeria.
I would call that Western.
They put a map in here and still got it wrong.
Yeah, what the fuck? CNN.
But without
No, it's a sad thing about the.
Yeah, so if you have people in and around your area who are from this area, reach out to them, see if they're okay. If you have a family in that area or friends of family in that area, reach out and see if they need any help, and keep your doors open for people who be a good neighbor. Swiss village was wiped off the map by a glacier.
Yeah, I heard that.
Village that stood for centuries in less than seconds was gone. Scientists monitoring the Nesthorn Mountain above the village in recent weeks saw that parts of it had begun to crumble. Fall into the Birch Glacier, putting enormous pressure on the ice. Small rock and ice slides have begun to come down. Birch? Okay. Small rocks and ice slides have begun to come down, and the village's 300 residents and even their livestock were evacuated for their own safety. But everyone hoped the unstable rock would disperse incrementally over weeks, and after that, everyone could go home. On Wednesday afternoon, that hope was dashed, and there's video of it coming down.
So they were able to save everyone in there, including the livestock. Damn.
Yeah, Swiss have had experience with mountains.
Yeah, it's Swiss.
Yeah, a little bit. A little bit.
They were getting their chimney fixed. The repairman was downstairs checking the system when they said there was a loud banging and the lights went out. At first, they thought it was the repairman had broken something, and then the banging and now roaring got louder, and the repairman came running up the stairs shouting, "The mountain is coming."
Wow.
Kippel is over 4 kilometers away, or 2.5 miles, and the entire valleys was soon cloaked in dust. The town itself was completely destroyed. Its homes, churches, and cozy Edelweiss hotel smashed to rubble.
How did you get Edelweiss?
I know things.
Not normally when it comes to words.
I have approximate knowledge of many things. Geology.
Don't break her flow. Let her read.
Like, just randomly,
You broke her flow.
smoothly getting Edelweiss, and I was like, what the fuck?
You just ask the non-linguist to pronounce things when you stop. That's how you do it.
You were waiting for me to get that wrong.
I was
He
waiting for you to
was,
skip
wasn't
it.
he?
I was expecting you to skip it. But then you just said Edelweiss, and I'm like, oh, okay.
Geologists have been, I know the song. Geologists had been monitoring the
okay, that's it.
situation. Yeah. First off, I watched The Sound of Music. Second off.
Okay.
Yeah. A geologist had been monitoring the situation, and it was evacuated, but no one, not even the experts, expected such huge violence. So, it is now absolutely obliterated.
Why is that violence? It seems to just be natural stuff.
So this is what the fuck is he yelling about? This is what it looked like before. This is what it looked like afterward.
Wow.
So you can see the bit of the hotel right here and the church, and that's what it looks like now.
Holy
Damn.
shit.
So it's good that nobody was hurt, but
Yeah.
it sucks that. So if you know people in this area or people from this area, please reach out to them and make sure they're either okay or they have a place to stay, or if there's financial support needed. That I wouldn't know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But be
so
aware of scams also. That they
always
can
be aware of
scams out
scams.
there.
Yes.
Yeah.
So also, we're closer to home. More than 90 wildfires are out of control in Canada. Canada was battling 175 wildfires on Friday, of which 95 were uncontained, prompting evacuations and military response. Officials warned that worse is probably still yet to come. Yeah, this is just the beginning of the season. We get wildfires relatively regularly in Canada. Last year, the wildfires in Quebec got really, really bad. This year, right now, they're starting out Manitoba and Saskatchewan way. So this is in Manitoba right now.
Have you considered freezing the fires out?
Have we considered raking them? I don't know. Dozens of enormous wildfires erupted across Canada, already forcing 21,000 evacuations and spewing toxic smoke into the air. The provinces of Manitoba and Saskatchewan have both declared states of emergency as several separated blazes rage out of control. Canada's Prime Minister Mark Carney is sending them in the military to help move residents and fight fires in Manitoba, where 17,000 people have been forced to evacuate. Manitoba Prime Minister Wab Canoe called the province, that is actually how you pronounce his name, called the province's largest such exodus in living memory. In Saskatchewan, where 4,000 people have fled their homes, the conditions are, quote, as severe as, quote, anything that we have faced for quite some time period, if not ever, said Premier Scott Moe.
Yeah, but the good news is that climate change isn't happening, so we don't have to worry about it.
Right, yeah, this is a really big deal. Again, these fires are getting more often, more aggressive, more widespread. So this is like a major investment for Canada, as well as this is going to affect America as well. Like this smoke is going to make it down there for sure.
You mean the fourth territory of Canada?
Yeah, yeah. But there's some pictures. The smoke is pretty crazy. With no rain forecast and hot, dry summer on the horizon, the blazes are expected to balloon. Mr. Moe added, quote, I think there's an admission here that things are going to get worse before they get better. Much of the country is currently exceptionally dry and warm. On Friday, 175 active fires were burning, 95 of which were out of control, according to the Canadian Agency's Forest Fire Center. In recent years, Canada's fires have billowed dry smoke across North America, famously spreading ominous orange-tinted skies and filthy air across New York in 2023. Air quality in Arrowhead.
Stop sending your fire smoke to us, Chesh.
Yeah, well, do something about climate change.
We need a smoke wall at the
Maybe
northern
don't
border.
get rid of the Clean Air Act.
We need to put a tariff on smoke.
Oh, there you go. That'll do it.
Yeah.
85%
tariff on smoke.
Oh God.
There is talk about funding and conservatives consistently cutting funding to fire prevention and stuff like that and all that shit, but without getting into the politics of it. So if you're from Manitoba or Saskatchewan, reach out to your friends and family. If you're in other areas, there has been requests to aid from Canada to the UK and to the United States and Mexico, and we're gonna see what gets approved and what doesn't.
Yeah, actually, one of the less public of the Science Friends team lives in Saskatchewan, and we've been getting pretty frequent updates about things like how much smoke there is, what the air quality is like, whether or not he's going to have to flee his house.
Yeah.
And it's not great. And and I'm not telling you who it is because this is someone who does not have a public presence in terms of science communication, but who is one of our background resources for giving us especially geology stuff. So
yeah, no, absolutely. If you have friends, if you have family, make sure if you're Canadian, be a good neighbor. Keep your door open. Maybe somebody needs a couch to sleep on for a little bit.
Unless you're French Canadian, they don't count.
Search continues for 6 people after deadly chemical plant blast in eastern China.
Why are all of these horrible disasters, Chesh? Come on.
It's literally called disasters.
The section is disasters.
Well, why can't we? Let's have a section about kittens next time.
Well, at least nobody died in the Swiss one, and there's no fucking tsunami in Japan. And as far as I know, nobody has died yet from the wildfires. Everybody's been evacuated.
Instead of wildfires and earthquakes and landslides, why don't we do small carnivorous mammals making cute squeaking sounds?
Okay,
next month?
All right, tell you what. A search operation to find 6 missing people continues in eastern China a day after a huge explosion rocked a chemical plant, killing at least 5 people and injuring 19. It was not immediately clear what caused the explosion. The plant is located in an industrial park. So, local fire officials sent more than 230 personnel to the scene, according to the broadcaster.
Although that image is a little bit there because they had lots of purple smoke, and generally fires that have lots of purple smoke. Well, Maanyaa, generally is purple smoke generally bad?
Yes.
It's from your purple smoke. Is that from your explosives? I think so, isn't it? That's what it is. Purple smoke.
This was a chemical plant.
Purple smoke is what makes electronics work, which is why if it escapes from your electronics, they stop working.
That makes sense.
From your electronics, it stops working.
But since
keep
that's
the purple smoke inside.
It looks like this is still under investigation. But
if you go right at the bottom and read the whole the end of this event happened after they had started holding conferences where they were doing trainings around safety in chemical plants.
It says specifically identified more than 800 safety hazards in the first 8 months of 2024 and rectified all of them, the Bureau said.
I doubt that.
Workplace safety has improved over the years in China, but remains a stubborn problem. The National Minister of Emergency Management recorded 21,800 incidents and 19,600 deaths in 2024. A warehouse complex storing large amounts of hazardous chemicals caught fire and exploded in 2015. 2019, 78 people were killed in an explosion of a chemical plant.
Yeah, usually, yeah. So, but what it looks like is that there is chemical storage is very important, even if they are your mundane chemicals. Right? So the purple fire usually comes from they come from your mundane chemicals, like your cleaning stuff and all that. And if you're not storing them properly if they are telling you to store them away from sunlight, they mean it. Store it away from sunlight. And if they're telling you not to store certain chemicals together, please do not do that, even if they are in low quantity, because your vapors in the air can cause a lot of reactions and chain reactions especially. So yeah, and it's a chemical plant. They said, is that what it was?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
So over here, by the looks of it, what I think has been happening is, number one, ventilation. Number two, proper storage and segregation. Those are very two important things, and maybe that was not being followed, or when they were mixing the chemicals, they were not following proper dosing procedures, or they don't have anything like that. They're just doing it manually, which is again more dangerous. So yeah, having a chemical plant is not easy. So yeah, watch out.
All
Having
right.
a safe chemical plant is also not easy. But if you,
No.
I was gonna say, I think a chemical plant's easy. It's a safe chemical plant. That's the problem.
Party.
Yeah.
And by the way, that particular plant is known to manufacture things related to iodine compounds, but they also have a bunch of fluorine compounds. So in that smoke, you have iodine. You also have fluorine radicals, which you don't want to ingest because they tend to get in your bones, and you live for a while, but you're not comfortable. Maybe is that correct thing to say?
All right. So what you're saying is we should all become octopus, so we don't have to worry about our bones.
If we're becoming octopus, are we becoming octopus that like kind of match like who we are? Because I'm totally gonna be a blue-ringed octopus from Australia because they're so poisonous and tiny, venomous and tiny.
Sure.
Sorry.
Sure. And Landon can become a giant Pacific octopus because he lives in the Pacific, right where they live.
And he's got a gigantic brain.
Yeah.
Oh,
I'm just gonna
somewhere in
be
here.
one of those who are in an aquarium and who go around escaping from, like, the pipe.
To go and eat shellfish in the other tank.
Yep. Yep.
When we become
and
octopus,
give the caretakers problems. Yeah, that's me.
when we become octopus, safety tip: you can physically swallow things that are big enough to damage your brain because an octopus brain surrounds its esophagus. So be careful what you swallow.
All right, I will. As an octopus, as a human, I will be careful what I swallow. Thank you very much.
General advice.
So, because Dapper requested it, and I had already set this up, this may or may not be considered a disaster. So I thought it made a good through line. Warnings after 250 million bees escape.
Oh no, 250? Really?
250
sure is a headline.
Million bees.
Nice. Oh,
bees,
nice.
my god.
It sounds like the setup of, like, what would you rather fight? Like 50,000 bee-sized horses or 250 million? And this is like, what? 250 million bees. It's such a ridiculous thing.
I don't know if this is a disaster or not. I guess it depends on who you ask. We should ask the bees. There's an overturned truck in the United States.
Saving the bees.
So also to be full disclosure, I live about 8 minutes from this intersection.
Oh no, Landon!
Landon, stay safe.
Oh god.
But this is also near Canada, so it's part of that Canadian thing too.
Wait, Chess, do you know about bee beards? That's a thing.
Yes, I do.
Yeah.
Bees.
Landon, if these bees show up at your place, you should make them a beard and show up next time with a bee beard.
I am working on a project.
When I lived on the farm, we did have beehives.
I'm working on a mini project in the background where I've been collecting information on what plants need to be planted for pollinators, and I'm going to be starting to attend city council meetings, and I'm going to see if I can convince the city to use easements to plant more pollinator flowers. But I'll let you guys know how that goes. Estimated
pollinators are important.
Yes. An estimated 250 million bees escaped from an overturned truck in the United States of Washington on Friday, sparking warnings from authorities for the public to avoid the swarm of stinging insects. Emergency officials were helped by several master beekeepers after the truck, which had been hauling roughly 70,000 pounds, or 31,750 kilograms of active honeybee hives, flipping over on the road near the Canadian border. Quote,
So in this area,
We're gonna put a tariff on those
both,
bees.
both blueberry and raspberry. In fact, a substantial percentage of raspberries from the United States come from this area, and these bees are useful for pollinators because you need pollinators to allow the plants to have sex with each other.
Is there gonna be a raspberry shortage now?
Maybe.
No, because there's other things, and besides the bees are well, they're kind of mixed up. They're putting lots of bees there available. Meanwhile, Maanyaa is putting lots of bees.
Quote, the goal is to save as many bees as possible. To the county sheriff's office, or shortly after the incident, the authorities said that the site crash would remain closed until rescue is complete. You must save the bees. 250 million bees are now loose. Avoid the area due to potential bees escaping and swarming.
By the way, it's near Badger Road, in case you know where that is. And you know, it's but there's other bees there around, so, and it's fine.
At least they're not the killer hornets. Right. So yeah, they're supposed to be getting rehive, and they're gonna try to keep doing that. It's apparently gonna take 24 to 48 hours to get it tidied up. But bees. 250 million bees escape. The great bee escape.
Saving the bees.
This is a movie. This is a movie. It needs to happen. All right, but in other good animal news, lion population has gone up from 674 to 891 in 5 years.
Woo, finally.
And this is one of the smallest populations of lions. These are the Asiatic lions that only now exist in one forest in India.
Yes.
They're extremely rare. They're genetically distinct, and they have been on the verge of extinction for a very, very long time. Because you gotta remember, lions, like Panthera leo, the species lion, used to at one point extend through the Middle East, into Europe, and all the way across Asia into India. Not like Siberia or anything, but like in the warm parts of Asia, all the way east to India. Yep. And now they're restricted to a few pockets of Africa and one tiny little national forest in India. And that's it for the Asiatic lion. It's one tiny little forest. Well, I mean, it's not that small, but like compared to their old range, it's minuscule.
Yeah. Relative. A population of what are they called? Asiatic lions has risen 32.19% reaching 891 in 2025, up from 647 in 2020, according to the latest census released by the government.
Yeah, and by the way, just also for the.
You said 647.
Sorry, 674.
Betacamp Road is closed between Loomis Trail and West Badger Road, in part because they're trying to move because not all the hives are damaged, right? All the bees didn't escape.
We're back to bees. Sorry, bees.
Are there, and they are being moved because those pollinators are needed for crops and other things like that. So just avoid the Betacamp Road.
What if we get the lions to pollinate the crops?
I mean, they could probably carry a lot of pollinator on their manes, but we might need bigger flowers.
Yeah.
Well,
I got alert to avoid that area. So,
however, conservationists remain concerned about the increasing number of lions living outside of the forested areas, risk of human-wildlife conflict. Of the total lion population, 55.78% were found in forest areas, where a significant 44.22% were located in non-forested zones such as wastelands, agricultural fields, riverine tract, plantations, and near areas near human settlements. Expert warns that the lions straying into human-dominated landscapes, especially near agricultural land and villages, can lead to rising cases of man-animal conflict. The 16th lion population estimation was announced during the 7th meeting of the National Board of Wildlife. The lion census is conducted every 5 years, and they continue to be the stronghold for the species, holding over 43% of the total lion population. But yeah.
43%. Damn.
Yahoo! The key lion habitat hosts 332 lions, including 82 males and 117 adult females, 61 subadults, and 79 cubs, making it the highest lion holding district. For the first time since 1879, the A
Yeah, that's
wildlife sanctuary recorded the presence of 17 lions.
Oh, that's
Wow.
cool.
And we got one more piece of good news for animals.
Yay,
Broken
let's
Head
go.
Nation welcomes first buffalo calves in decades. 11 calves have been born since the herd was reintroduced in December. Look at them, aren't they cute?
Oh,
Aw.
cutie. They're so
Um,
fluffy.
Seeing a brand new generation of buffalo born for the first time in more than 2 decades. Quote, it is a big
Wow.
part of our culture as people, brings the community together, and a lot of people come out here and drive out here to look at them and talk about them, said the manager. The reserve land, 75 kilometers north of Winnipeg, along Broken Head River, fall within traditional buffalo territory. The new herd was brought to Broken Head in late December from Sakamay First Nation in Saskatchewan. I believe I pronounced that correctly, but I might be wrong. Before that, he and his team worked tirelessly to prepare the buffalo pasture. They had a herd in the 1900s that was disbanded in the early 2000s. Before working on the ranch, they had never seen... Oh, yeah, blah, blah, blah. That's his story. This year, the herd of 22 birthed 11 healthy calves, with 3 or 4 more expected. The pasture, open grass and plains and brush make it perfect nursery for the calves. Look at them!
Oh,
Aren't they cute?
cutie.
With a few more
Yeah.
on the way. They're gonna almost, get 50% bigger. Look at their
That's
friend-shaped! Don't pet them.
yeah. Don't
Yeah.
try that. No. Unless you want them horns. No, don't.
But yeah, so congratulations on that. That's fantastic. So hopefully the wildfires don't cause too much problem. They are in Winnipeg, which north of Winnipeg, which is in Alberta, and the fires are currently raging in Manitoba and Saskatchewan. But Alberta will likely also have some fires as well, but I'm sure they'll take care of the buffalo. As I did have a question for Dapper, given that we have these
Yes.
the lion things going on with the lions and buffalo in particular. What do you think, or how do you feel as somebody who studies or at least knows biology a little bit better than I do, at the very least, and talks about these things a little bit more? The reintroduction of things into because we talked about that a little bit with the dire wolves, right? Reintroducing things that have been gone for a while. When it comes to reintroducing and regrowing these types of populations in their natural area. What are you thinking? Good, bad, risks, rewards?
So it's generally good if your concern is things like biodiversity and ecological health, because both the lions and the buffalo are relatively recent local extinctions in these areas. Now, you might be thinking that's kind of surprising when it comes to the lions, since it's been a few thousand years. But the thing is, ecosystems generally adapt on the time scale of hundreds of thousands of years. So, and there's going to be some adaptation, pretty fast, but even in the course of tens of thousands of years, it's going to be somewhat limited. And so, because it's been less than 10,000 years for both of these, and these are both still populations of living animals with decent-sized genetic diversity. It's not amazing, but it's okay. It's certainly better than it is for, say, the white rhino or something.
Right.
You can
It's
actually
feasible.
still get a healthy, you can still get a healthy breeding wild population of these animals. They haven't been reduced such that their social systems are no longer operable, which is another problem that you can have, especially with mammals. So overall, I think it's a good idea. Now, there are concerns, right? These are both very, very dangerous animals. You might think that a buffalo is just a shaggy cow. It's not.
Well, cows are dangerous
domestic.
also.
So they are. Although the thing is, if you walk up to a cow, chances are it's not going to try to attack you.
And very used to people. Yeah.
Yeah, they're very used to people. They tend to like people. That's not buffaloes.
Yeah.
A buffalo, or to be more proper, an American bison, will gore you to death and trample on you.
Yep.
They are dangerous. A lion may attack. Now, they tend not to be aggressive, including the lions, because they're generally not comfortable.
The
with
buffalo
people,
are
and they would
more
rather
likely to be aggressive than the lions due to their nature.
Honestly, yes.
Yeah.
Honestly, yeah.
Yeah.
It's a myth that herbivores are nice and peaceful and carnivores are aggressive. That's not how
It's literally the opposite. If you've seen a
Yeah,
moose,
it tends to
you
be.
know. If you've seen a
Oh,
goose,
God.
you know.
Yeah. So
Goose aren't herbivores.
there is a concern. So for the buffalo, one of the things is, if this becomes a herd that can be reintroduced into the wild, which I would like to see, people need to be educated about buffalo. They need to know that this is something that is like a moose, but heavier in terms of its temperament and likelihood to attack you.
Yes.
They need to know how to deal with them. There need to be like things established for like, okay, what if a buffalo just decides to stand on the road, right?
Yes.
There's only one road. If the buffalo blocks it, what is that going to block all of Canada? I don't know.
Well, there's
I
also
guess.
like a really big difference between like a moose, which is more of a solitary animal, and a buffalo, which move in herds.
Yeah. A herd of buffalo could block off the one road that exists in Canada.
Yes.
That's you gotta have a plan.
One
When it comes to the
road. The
And
Trans-Canada
they sometimes
Highway.
do. Yes.
it's
Yep.
the only road.
Walking road.
Yep.
So the other thing is when it for lions, you have different concerns, right? Lions probably aren't going to be like blocking streets and like running through farms in a herd, or even most likely just randomly attacking people. Instead, one of the concerns is going to be lions taking livestock as prey.
Yeah.
So they will take your cows, they'll take your goats, they'll take your sheep, they'll take your
Unwanted,
chickens.
an unwanted confrontation as well. Children.
Right.
Also.
And then that becomes people getting out weapons and going lion hunting. And the thing is, big cats are not dumb, and they will notice if the humans start becoming
aggressive.
aggressive towards them, and they will respond by trying to clear humans out of the territory if they think they can.
Yeah.
It won't be like
Yeah.
a war, right? But like it can happen. You can train the lions to attack people just by having an antagonistic relationship with them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now they'll also flee more. So I mean, it's a double-edged sword there. But also, so what I would like to see again is educational programs for people. Like, what do you do if you encounter a lion?
Yeah.
How are ways to be safe in an area that has lions? But also, one thing that was really important in the United States to wolf reintroduction was a government program that reimbursed ranchers for livestock losses due to wolf predation.
Mhm.
Because that way, the farmers did not perceive the occasional attack as damaging their livelihood.
Yeah.
So that's another thing that might help is if there was some kind of program. Now, I don't know what the Gujarati government is willing or capable of doing in terms of this. So like, this is my pipe dream, I suppose. But it would be nice to see some program that if you can demonstrate that a lion has taken one of your animals, that you get some kind of payment that roughly covers the cost of buying a new animal if you want to do that, basically.
Right.
To replace it if you want. And if you don't want, well then, okay, well, you still have the value of that animal. You can spend it on, food.
Do
or
whatever you're gonna do. Yeah.
Right. So,
Yeah.
that I think would be a good thing to do if the lions really do start becoming common in human inhabited areas. Now, it seems like for the most part, most of them aren't doing that, which is good. But
So
one
far.
of the things is domesticated animals are really easy prey. They tend to be a lot of them. They tend not to be very well able to defend themselves because they haven't been bred for that. They've been bred for things like producing lots of milk or meat or eggs or something like that, right?
Right.
Things that don't tend to lend towards survival away from humans taking care of them.
Right.
So, and so that's a big concern. Also, maybe it might be time if you're in Gujarat and you're near the forests with all the lions. I don't know, build taller walls. Around your property, build a taller wall.
But I say, it's at times when you get flocks of things that invade human habitation, you can get into problems, such as what's happening right now in the area of Onion Hills, Michigan, near Detroit, where flocks of Tesla Cybertrucks are showing up. they have a problem. Or malls with
Some
former
things just
Bed
need
Bath
to
and
get
Beyond.
wiped out. Some things just need to be wiped out.
Landon, I've heard that
and
Cybertrucks are
And so
really,
what's-
really, really allergic to salt water.
I've also heard they're really aggressive.
I'm sorry. It's Farmington Hills, which is near Detroit, and they're having problems of dozens and dozens of Cybertrucks showing up in this mall, and that the local Tesla dealer is refusing to explain why. But Space Karen says that they've sold, they have 1 million reservations for these things, but flocks of them are
doubt
showing
that.
up in this mall, and people aren't quite sure. Now, I do not condone people spraying penises on these vehicles.
I do.
Do not refer to them as Nazi, carriages or things like that, because
No, you
that
absolutely
would
should.
be
We did
illegal.
so good not talking about Elon Musk today. I do want to point out, though, that somebody... I have to tell this story real quick. It's only going to be a second, I promise. And it's only just a little bit mean. So,
Oh, really?
I had... So I saw a picture of Stephen, what's his name? Stephen Miller, the obviously laughably cartoonishly evil man that's in the White House right now. This is one of Trump's people that's like clearly a
you mean
monster.
the one whose wife Musk just stole?
Yeah, that guy. So his wife is leaving working at the White House and joining Elon Musk. So everybody's been joking that Stephen Miller's lost his wife and Elon took her.
I don't think that's a joke.
I don't think it's a joke either, but that's the
Musk
meme.
has a history of fucking married women.
And
And
this-
clearly, if
it's
she's
true.
with Stephen Miller, she's not there because she cares about things like being with a quality partner who cares about her and is a good, ethical, kind person. She's just there because of the power.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
So I'm pretty
The
sure
obvious
she's fucking
trade-off.
Musk.
Yeah, absolutely. But the meme is like a picture of him and it says the face you make when an immigrant steals your wife and you're the boss of deportations. And all I said was Stephen Miller has the power to do the funniest thing. And I would laugh my ass off if Stephen Miller deports Elon Musk. Like no trial, no due process. He's obviously a criminal. He's gotten people killed. Done.
Yeah, tell Space Karen to go back to South Africa.
But also, somebody responded to me when I said that and said, as long as he's not sent back to you guys, right? Like an American sent that to me as an obvious Canadian.
Yeah.
And I said, back? No. But send him here. Let us take care of him. Canadians are good at dealing with Nazis.
Yep.
Please, send the Nazis to Canada. We have a history together. It'll be a good time, I promise. No, send them to us. We got you. We'll take care of it. But it was a good time. I don't know. Only the worst kind of person is buying a Tesla right now. Like, you have to be an absolute Nazi piece of fucking shit to be buying a Tesla. It's one thing if you bought one before and haven't been able to get rid of it, but you should get rid of it or just deface it yourself.
Those people that are stuck with it.
You should they should deface them themselves. If you have any decency, you've defaced your own car at this point. But
Oh god.
if you are buying a Tesla right now, or you are like going and getting yourself installed with Starlink right now, or you're a country that's making deals with Elon to do Starlink, to quote Elon, go fuck yourselves.
Oh my god.
You gotta be an absolute piece of complete fucking trash to be
it
buying a
doesn't
Tesla in
matter-
2025.
It doesn't matter if he's decided to leave Doge; he's still responsible for that. It doesn't matter if
Yes.
he decides to step down as CEO
Allegedly.
of that so-called car company, because he still uses the overvalued stock as a means to influence around the world.
Yeah,
bad
there's a
things, including
really-
actual Nazis.
There's a really big issue right now with the current American administration going around to other countries trying to support and bolster their right-wing extremist regimes in those countries. Speaking of which, Poland has an election coming up today, tomorrow, the next day or so. Good luck, Poland. Apparently the authoritarian and the Democrat, like the person who supports democracy and human rights and stuff, are neck and neck. So go out, if you're in Poland and you know people in Poland, go out and vote. And don't vote for authoritarian losers, because Poland is going to be in a really good or really bad place, depending on where that goes, especially given their location and military prowess. So good luck, Poland. That's everything.
Alrighty,
That was everything.
Yes.
That was all. We did it. We did everything.
Hooray!
Let's go,
Thank you.
baby.
Thank you,
All right.
Chesh.
Tune in.
Thank you.
Tune in
You
next
would
week
deserve
when
a
I have
lot of
Chesh
credit
read more
for
of Jonah.
herding these collection of cats. Thank you, Chesh.
Yay. The
Yay.
next tavern will be, I believe, the 28th of June, so join us there. I might be looking to increase the number of shows we do of this, just so we're not doing so many topics all at once, and I'm thinking about maybe getting a couple of professionals in specific areas to help cover that. But we'll see. I'll be working on it. We're always expanding. We're always looking. If you're a professional, reach out to me, and you want to be on the show, reach out to me. Also,
and
you
Chesh
have
has
anything
already
on-
agreed, by the way, that on the 28th, she and I will only speak Klingon the entire time, and she's gonna, in her head, translate all the articles into Klingon rather than just reading them in English. So she's already agreed to this. So we're gonna really have to work
Allegedly.
on the Klingon.
Dapper.
Dapper's
Allegedly.
so
Dapper.
mad that we went long because he kept interrupting me that I'm gonna get punished for it.
Dapper.
I
Next,
Yes.
appreciated the length of this show. I really do. Thank you very
we
much. for
actually
having
did a little bit better on the length than I thought we were going to end up doing because we're just at
See?
3.5, so we're actually a lot better
Was it
than I
my
thought.
fault?
It's next Saturday is the philosophy show. So if you are interested in philosophy and learning about that, we're getting
Do we
into
have
art.
anything on 14?
What?
Do we have
What? You people have no fucking patience.
Not today.
Go, what?
I just asked you, do we have anything on 14?
No.
Okay, thank you. All right. Yeah, so next week is the philosophy show.
Next
Wait, what's
Saturday, next Saturday at 2 p.m. is the Living with Philosophy. We're moving into argumentation. So if you want to know how we kind of tackle and think about things and how you can learn to think
we
about
argue?
things and how we argue and how to avoid fallacies or recognize fallacies, all that kind of stuff, since we're getting into argumentation, that is on Saturday, 2 p.m. Volcano show is on the 20th at 11 p.m. We moved to 11 p.m. because Maanyaa is difficult and lives in the worst time zone.
But 11 p.m. what time zone?
11 p.m. Eastern. And we have
20 Pacific.
Maanyaa and I are going to be talking about Palestine versus Israel under the heading of talking about Hassan Piker and Ethan Klein. Because they had a debate about it, and I don't want to do it, but Maanya's into it, so we're going to do it. As well as Becca is going to be joining us on Thursday, and they're going to be talking to us about education, specifically with if people have ADD or are autistic, as well as young people advocacy in current, and what that looks like in current America, and like historically and now. And we're going to be
Looks
talking
bad.
Looks bad. Short answer. Long answer. So anyway, if you're interested in that, thank you so much for joining us. We're gonna get out of here. Dapper, what do you have next?
Next is the THC passing through my blood-brain barrier. That's the next thing I got.
Hell yeah. Thank you so much for joining us. We will see you next time. We really appreciate it. Like, share, subscribe. Help us get to that 500. And look out for these segments as a video. So if you're looking at anything, as well as links are in the description down below. Have a good night, everybody. Bye-bye.
Cheers.
Bye.
Visit Red Eye's channel and the other
Yeah.
things I was gonna do.
Visit Red Eye's channel
forgot.
and go see whatever the hell he's doing. I don't know. What's he doing? What's he doing? Oh, whatever.
And
Have red eyes.
visit the YouTube thing I'm going to promote, but Chesh forgot to mention.
You're still here.
Oh yes, I have a alternate universe. We're going to reveal the International Office Secret Contest winners on that channel. So subscribe.
Okay, bye.
Bye.
Bye.